Hey, welcome back to Métropole Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. It is officially spoilers month. I didn't realize that didn't start till yesterday. I thought we're already in it. Apparently it didn't start. Yeah, it's on now though. April 10th, 2025. Hopefully you're doing well. We're starting this one a bit late. We were out there watching some daily casts again. Every day at 8 p.m. Eastern, Jeff is doing a stream with nice people from the community. This just wrapped up. I've been really enjoying them. A fair bit. It was a fun one. A lot of cards to talk about today. We have a lot to do. Like decklist of the week. I mean, maybe because Ghost Meat, maybe we'll have to. Hi, Andre. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Let me catch up. Well timed. Who else is hopping right over from daily casts? I know I was. Hopefully you're well. Good to also to hear you, Jamie, on the last one or two ago. I forget what it was. It's been a while. Hey, Haver, Grim, welcome. Antoine 2ID gang. We're massive 2ID gang at this point. That is the thing that has been announced. I wasn't expecting this at all, but it has been clarified and been shown to a large extent that every faction looks like they'll be getting 2 identities. So that's 14 identities in elevation, which is the best card slot to get more of, particularly in something that's going to be evergreen. So that is just like incredibly hype. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't even consider it. I thought there's no way. There's way too few card slots, but what a good way to maximize card slots. I think what's going to be interesting is realizing like how many consoles are in there. Is one character, one identity going to get more support than the other? I imagine some of these will be more uneven than others, but we'll find out together, I think, for sure. Hey, Brennan, cast is over. Time for the side hustle. Hey, Kevin. Daria, some absolute clown dropped some bad takes on Daily Gas today, and then Dan said, come on, man, Jeff is trying his best, which got a good laugh for me. I think, Daria, some of your hot takes are some of my favorite takes I've heard so far. I think your opinion on one of the new Anarchs has actually made me very happy, and I thank you for sharing it. We'll come to it when it comes out, but like genuinely really, really cool. Hey, Ezra, and have a good stream. Catch you on the VOD. Spoiler season's got a grip on me. I'll see you in the VOD then. Hopefully you're well. Hey, Supernod. Hey, Tom. Cast straight to grid. What a day to take off sick. Hopefully you're feeling better. I really hope NSG gave Andre a Crim card to scoop for next week. Seeing him get hyped over Crim stuff would make my day. Ooh, I can like leak some stuff maybe. If you ask like really leading questions, maybe I'll be able to answer it if you want to like mine for information. I also don't think I can say what day. No, you know what day it is. They put out a calendar. We're gonna have scoops on the Monday. Not this upcoming Monday, but the next Monday. So we're like a week away in a bit. So we'll have scoops. If you want to, you know, subscribe and all that sort of stuff, you'll get it. We'll do the video thing. One thing I do need to say about the scoops that is kind of notably strange is that normally whenever we do scoops, I do like an animation, right? So like for the last season, our animation has been Charlotte. And it's actually kind of tricky because to line up a good scoop for the Métropole Grid, you need to line me up with art that has a good Photoshop file that has layers so I can cut it up and animate and paint and do all that sort of stuff I do. It takes a lot of time. It's a lot of fun. I've been working on one. NSG handed me this art and said like, okay, you can animate this. This is a good one to animate. And they chose a great art. The thing is, the art that I'm animating is not one of my scoops cards, which is really funny. So I am spending time animating an art. I don't know what the card is. I don't know what faction it is. I don't know what the text of the card is. I don't know what type of card it is. All I know is the artist. And the artist is very good. So very goofy that's going to happen. I know that the card that I'll be revealing will be spoiled before I do my reveal with the animation, but the animation actually like does not align exactly with the cards I'm showing off, which is kind of funny. So yeah, I've been already spent like a dozen hours working on something. I have no idea what it is. It's just art, but it's good art. I think they picked a good choice. Hey, Yoga, and you all look familiar from last stream. Hey, Jai, how you doing? Been enjoying the blog. Hey, Cror, how's it going? Dramatic read of the fiction, surely. I think we're going to do a couple dramatic reads today. I don't know how long reading take. It feels like it takes a while. I don't think it does. We got 2 good stories to read. Hey, Cold Lava, I'm excited for Patrick to sneak up on you. I don't think it's happening. I don't know if it's happening. I think Patrick might be on a stream in the near future. Ooh, I do want to shout out. Ooh, hold on. NPC.games. No, is that right? Yeah, that's right. This weekend is in New Jersey. NPC New Jersey. An article went up, mind you. Shouting out a couple of the players there. This is Radiant. I believe this is one of Dean's Polaroids. This is Sam, who's out there playing. I didn't know Radiant would be on the East Coast. I'm not sure if he moved there or not. We have a shout out, and we also have a shout out, of course, from Princeton's own Deer Ruttenberg. That's this weekend. It is a district championship. It's going to be pretty sick. I think it's going to be, there's been some really high stakes, a lot of very good competition events in the Northeast. So if you're there, of course, check out NPC. He moved to New York. Oh yeah, that makes sense then. Okay, cool. Very, very cool. But that's this weekend. Check it out. Why is the screen in the back showing the stream as well? I had this screen out because I was doing like some test stuff, and then I realized I can mirror the back of it. It's probably distracting, honestly, and it's a bit blown out because it's really bright, but I thought it was kind of funny to have the picture-in-picture like this. So there's D like twice. Let me know. Well, we can turn the screen off at any point. It's totally fine. Hey, stream, how's it? Izzy, it's going well. How you doing? How's your launch month been? Hey, Pat. Excited for a plethora of IDs, all 14 of them. Kata, how you doing? How's previews? Previews have been good. We're going to be talking about them. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. I feel like we should just catch up on chat and get in. I was expecting 10 IDs like system updates. So cool, we're getting 14. I was expecting 7. I thought there was no shot that'd be like, here's 2 runner IDs, F corpse. But like in hindsight, we're losing a lot of identities. And so evening that out seems important. Like otherwise standard would have like 6 identities, 5 identities per faction, which feels a bit low. Because it's like Gateway, Ashes, Borealis, Liberation. And then there'll be 2 more. So it's 6. Yeah, it could have been like 5. Feels good. I don't know if that means you agree with the take or disagree with it, or you just wish for an end to host supremacy. I agree with the take. I agree with a lot of your takes. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I'll just leave it like that for like legal non-culpability. Monday is going to be a huge scoops. Metropole, Neon Static, and Bot all on the same day. Yeah, it's like unfortunate that they all lined up like that. For me, it's like I have to make sure I have enough time. I also want to drop the scoop. Like normally I drop my scoops on Wednesday, but scoop season is like now, because launch isn't on a Monday, scoop season like starts, the community scoop starts in the middle of the week and then ends like on basically the day before launch. And normally the best day for me to release something is on a Wednesday. So it's before a stream, then it's the thing, and then we can do a stream after, just so like the content has some time to breathe. And the only day that made sense to do it before one of my streams was that Monday. So unfortunately it's a bit like bloated, but that's always exciting too, for sure. I'm waiting for Patrick to tell Andre to check under his desk and there'll be a scoop hidden under there or something like that. If anything, which I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen, it would be like during community scoops. There's no way it would happen sooner, and I don't think it's going to happen. Can you reveal whether you're spoiling a Gautam Buddha card? No. How's it going, Sanjay? I know what card it is, and I knew we would have given you the art, and I didn't know we didn't give you the card itself. Okay, so you probably know which one it is. I honestly, yeah, I still don't know what the card is. I know who's going to be revealing it, though. I thought I told you the faction. It's Crim. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I don't think you did. Yeah, I didn't think I wanted to ask. I didn't want to know. Everyone in chat scrambling for the tiniest little bit of scoop. Yeah, I know. Buddha John the Baptist CEO card when? I wonder how many people picked up on the John the Baptist thing. Hey, Drop Bear 2 ID gang. If you go to New Jersey, you can see me. That's an incentive. Yeah, unfortunately this weekend we won't be traveling, but I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be a pretty big event. Sam moved to New York. He's at a local meetups and regularly wipes the floor with his 419. The Psyduck 419 that has Sam on it. Hey Michael, how's it going? Set it up as a chat cam where we can each show up for 2 seconds and wave at everybody, like at the event. Talk about the art. I'm on the way to a local to teach a newbie. Art is good. I don't want to say more than that because it spoils what it is, but it's really good art. I don't think the artist has done work for Netrunner before. I'm pretty sure the artist has not done Netrunner work before. So this is like their first piece, and it's really quite good. At least one ID from each faction is barely playable anyways. Well, the chance of having a playable faction per ID is now pretty high. There can't be 2 bad IDs in a box. What's the chance of that? Just sleeved up for New Jersey. D, there's a target on your back. Best of luck out there. There's a lot of Ag Infusion in your part, it looked like, and a lot of Hoshiko last weekend, huh? Was it last weekend? Watching people crunch the numbers and starting to guess that was 14 IDs, then second guess themselves and slowly work it out has to been so much fun. Really glad to confirm it. I don't think I picked it up that like the boffins really quickly figured out that it was 2 IDs when they did the breakdown of cards per unique cards, which is like, it's a tricky thing to do. I don't think I've seen anyone. I have no doubt people are doing this sort of like forest flatline where they like have numbers and then the slots, because generally it goes alphabetical, but then it goes like agenda, asset, operation, ice, upgrade. So you can kind of learn a lot and see what you're missing. Especially also because we've seen a bunch through marketing fans, but all their numbers were obscured. Always excited to see the reactions on this card, to the card everyone's worked on. Yeah, it's Argon. It's like, it honestly makes me uncomfortable in some ways, because this is the best time where people who've worked on something behind the scenes for so long, and there's so much effort that goes into it. And we're going to obviously be seeing a lot of cool stuff today, whether it's like the new card backs, the new card frame, the new formatting, the art itself, the card text, all the iterations it went through. And then when something comes out and then the response is like, yeah, I don't think I'll play this. Like, I feel bad about that, because obviously like it's hella hype. So it's like, yeah, there's some really cool stuff to see for sure, but you know how it is. Egg Infusion, Hoshiko, not sure if you're familiar with those IDs. I've heard of those. I think it's hilarious that the self-important God Complex CEO is literally named Buddha John the Baptist. Absolutely hilarious. Does fat translate to Buddha? I thought fat was like great in Vietnamese, right? Or something akin to great. My goal is to have fun because I haven't played standard since December. I think a lot of people can use that date to have like a celebration of firing your last Rashida or, you know, playing your identities that rotate. For people who are playing the Egg Infusion, I guess they're checking that box, but yeah. It's like, even if the IDs maybe don't see play immediately, they're going to be around so long they can only imagine as things change that they'll have their moment. I think I've said this before last year, and we'll come to this in a second. I'm just going to catch up on chat. But I feel like I don't like how NSG spoils identities. We'll just talk about it now. NSG has articles or narrative pieces, and they show an identity, and that's it. And it really frustrates me because this is probably a personal issue, is that looking at the identity and trying to like figure out, oh, how good is this identity? This happened last spoiler season. I feel like it's just such a hard thing to do because we haven't seen any of the synergy cards that are in the set itself. I think some people like this more than others, but it's like when they showed off, what's his name? Seb. And like Seb is really cool. The character is fantastic. The idea of being tags and having connections and, you know, having this sort of like, you know, community behind your back, like that's sick. That's really cool. There's reasons to be excited by just knowing Seb is there. But then trying to understand how Seb plays like I just wish the Seb article came alongside something like amanuensis or showed, you know, friend of a friend. I feel like it's the same thing right now. It's every ID we see, like I just want to see one card, because trying to figure out how easy it's going to be to fire Rio's ability or what sort of payoff you have for playing Topan. Like I don't know. Like I honestly don't know. And now I feel like I'm speculating in a purely academic way, which is kind of useless without having like a context point. I want one context point. I think it's cool to show off cards like measured response because on its own that works everywhere. But like an identity is generally so dependent on the cards that work for the identity. We don't see any of them yet. Maybe that makes me more hyped for other stuff, but I feel like a lot of the identity reveals, I'll just be like, I'll wait till I see more cards, which is mixed bag. I just want to see more cards, and like that's good, but I don't know. I don't like seeing identities on their own. I feel like there's so many questions more than there's answers for sure. I miss playing Netrunner, looking forward to trying out to get back into stuff properly with Elevation. Call, there's a lot of people that are, you know, either getting back into the game or getting into the game for the first time because of massive rotation. I think it's a great time to jump in. Things look fantastic. Overall, I'm so hype on the ideas. I just found out System Gateway 2021 is rotating, so like PE, etc. I'm so bummed. Yeah, Ren, a lot of things are going. It's like a total paradigm shift. I think there's a lot of cards that are beloved that are going. That's always painful, but I have no doubt that NSG will reprint things, you know, that are similar ideas or get you kind of towards that. It turns out there's no direct personal evolution reprint, obviously, so far. That's maybe for the best, but that doesn't mean it can't come in the future. I think it's not fine to not be as into it. Even with everyone's watching, someone will be. Yeah, for sure. I just like, it makes me so uncomfortable where it's like the big season to get hype. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'll play this, but like, it is what it is. We'll talk about it for sure. Hey Ren, it was fun me seeing Phoenix previewed as #1 in the set and then knowing that the other Anarch ID started with a very late letter in the alphabet. Not that gave me any actual info. Why did you know that? Hey Thoth, an ID preview with text about them in greater context of the set and the design for them would be nice. Not the fiction isn't also great. No, I really like the fiction. I just wish it was like a card and then another card. I'm pretty sure the Weyland one was meant to have another card in it in the preview, but like, I just want that. Show me like the ID and then a reason to play the ID in terms of cards I put in my deck. I feel like those are just such important things to be like, this is the thing, and this is the cards you're gonna be playing with. I don't know. Didn't they used to do that with a few synergistic cards with ID? I think they used to maybe back in the day, but they haven't done it in 2 set launches so far. Don't want to be too rah-rah NSG, but I think a good ID makes you excited about what the context will look like. I think they can, but like, I don't like the idea that I see Ryu and then like, I don't know how to fire Ryu's ability. Like I know that I have Banner, I know I have Banner, but like, I'm assuming there's a way in the set to do it. And like a lot of these abilities are only as good as many times you can fire them, right? Like Seb is only as good as the tag card pool is. I think Seb is like a very specific example, right? But it's like showing Az and showing Masterwork in the same article. Now I'm like, oh shit, actually Az is really cool. I think if Az didn't have Masterwork, Az wouldn't be very good. And I just want those. I don't want to be like, oh, the console we found out a week later. Oh, it now makes the ID really exciting. Because I want to be hype on day one. Cards with ID, it's just hard to put a card with every ID without showing off like 25% of the set in one go. Yeah, for sure. There's definitely constraints about it. Also, like to make sure they have enough stuff for the community. Like I get it for 100%, especially because there's 14 IDs, right? Like that's half the set. I think not knowing what identity is going to do is part of the experience. Like we're taking days of waiting, not months. I know, but like, I just feel like, I don't know. The conversations to me just feel like kind of pointless, which is unfortunate. You know what I mean? Remember the first time I saw Marianne in Arkham and I was like, wow, I want to see how to play her. Yeah, but like you can play Marianne without any additional card support. Like events are just good. I think if Marion was printed without any of the cards in, you know, the set that Marion came with, Marion's still fine. I don't know. I remember Ob had Extractor C with it. That sounds right. But I think it was like an article and then a story that came off together. But like, yeah, Ob and then getting Extract, suddenly people are like, oh, you can fire Ob with your own, on your own volition or Svi. Like that's a really good 3 cards to put together to make me stoked to play Ob. I think that's a really good example too. Remember we saw Friend of a Friend before, Seb? Yeah, I know. See, no one speaking about fruit diesels. I feel like it's the biggest spoiler. Oh, in the article? Yeah, they do mention different flavored, John. That's a really cool shout out that there is different flavored diesels mentioned in the article. Fat means Buddha. Fat means to offend. They're pronounced differently but spelled similarly. Well, shit, I probably said it the same. Hey, Gyro, Aurora, that's really not good. NSG made that set, SG 2021, so I assumed. No, NSG did not make System Gateway 2021, Ren. System Gateway 2021 are reprints with the Null Signal Games formatting and card art, but they're all original FFG cards. Every single card in System Gateway were designed by Fantasy Flight Games in their like 6-year tenure. I don't know if you were aware of that. Everyone is also wanting the IDs ASAP, so it's hard to find the middle ground. Yeah, I know. Maybe I have nice things and I'm complaining. Ignore me. It's fine. We already have building a better world spoiled. Yeah, but show me an operation that gives credits, right? Show me an agenda that gives money, right? Like I'm looking at Zwicky. I'm like, how often will this fire? I'm like, I don't know, like 6 times. It could be more than that. We just won't know. The average Shoefire lore piece makes me about as excited to play as an idea as a sick card synergies, honestly. Yeah, like, so there's 2 pieces. I like Pat's piece a lot. I like Shoeflyer's piece a lot. And I do think Shoeflyer made an Ampere piece and made me want to play Ampere. Like, I think that's the biggest compliment I can give Aaron. Like, that's incredible. And I reread that piece. Actually, well, she reread it on one of the NSG podcasts back in the day, and it made me want to play Ampere again. She's made me want to play Ampere twice. That's absurd. That's incredible. Of course, urine flavored diesel. Yeah, that is the real one though. Advantage. The first time I see an ID, it's more about the years and standard and falling in love with it. Yeah, maybe I'm being a stick in the mud. I think there's a fair chance of that. That's the same chance. Did we get the same old effect but different names? No, same names. Absolutely everything's the same besides the formatting and the art. None of the names changed. An easy way to check is like if you look at a card like, say, Sneak Door Beta, don't look at those. You'll see here, it'll have like the different printings. So it's printed in System Core 2019, System Update 2021. These are just NSG reprintings. Well, mind you, the first NSG was never reprinted. The first System Core, it was just a set of cards. But this card came out originally in 2012. And all of the cards in System Update were reprints. No changes in terms of text, just formatting. And technically, like NSG uses breach and different words for the rules structure, which is better. But yeah, all the cards do the same thing. Hey, Darjan, how you doing? I'm hearing negativity on Phoenix. No, I'm actually pretty hyped for Phoenix. I think Phoenix looks really fun. They just need to reprint Citadel, and then I'm already playing Sab instead of Topan for 5 minutes. Yeah. Side note, after playing alongside her in my most campaign, Marion is bonkers good. I've been recording Arkham content for Velma's Diner. We've recorded 3 or 4 sessions with Jeff. I'm playing Marion. He's playing George Barnaby. That'll be up at some point for sure. It's obviously had to take a break because of daily cast, but we've been recording every week. And once we have all that stuff, it goes up and it's been fun. Marion's been really fun. My main problem with Phoenix is that you need to put Out of the Ash into the deck or you're just not being properly thematic. Hey, Milanomi, honestly, I like seeing only the idea. It gets me hyped for what could be built and then swerves into surprises on what is possible. But yeah, one context point really frames it. I just want one context point. Just one context point. Phil just saw your witch game today, Milanomi? What? Hey, Phil, how's it going? But if NGS reprinted the FFG cards in System Gateway, I almost implies they wanted those cards in the format. I can't imagine playing Netrunner without PE, but I will adapt. Well, the thing is, like, when System Core existed, there wasn't a lot of NSG cards. And so they wanted to have, like, their core set. Because, mind you, System Gateway, the core set for Netrunner didn't exist until 2021. So they wanted a set of cards that would be standard legal across their, their format and the FFG rotation that happened along the side. So these cards they thought were important, but they also picked these cards just so that like every faction would have a bit of support. What you're going to see largely in Elevation to some extent is these fundamental ideas being reimagined, right? So like if Criminal needs a way to run archives to touch HQ, it looks like we are getting a card like that, I'm pretty sure. So like you'll see a lot of similar ideas. I imagine there's a bunch of cards that people are like, we've also seen direct reprints for what it's worth. Like Biotic Labor is getting a direct reprint called Nano Management. So there's some cards that are just like so core from System Update into System Core that are getting reprinted. I'm concerned that Hosh will be better, but the new Anarchs looks cool as heck. Yes, I think banning Hoshiko could have been one of the coolest things to do to make the new identities get more attention. I think I mentioned that on Tuesday, but I do think the new identities look fun enough, at least on the Anarch side specifically, that there's reasons to do other stuff. At the end of the day, whatever is like competitively most viable, I couldn't tell you, but both of the Anarch IDs that we've seen so far do look very fun, and I think that's a huge success. If they didn't look fun and there was just like a comparison, is Hoshiko more consistent, then that's a problem, but at least they look fun. And so it's up to us to figure out how strong they are as well. George is hype as fuck. George is absurd. George is really, really good. I think it kind of depends whether I like ID first or ID plus cards, or whether some support cards exist. It also depends on the ID, right? Like the ones I picked, like Seb needs a card support. Otherwise, Seb doesn't do anything. I think Topan needs a bit of card support. I think Ryu 100% needs card support, because if Ryu is not firing, Ryu is not firing. So I do think certain IDs demand card support more than others. Like for instance, Zwicky needs card support. Like Zwicky just needs 1 or 2 operations that do the thing that fires Zwicky. Question is, what are those? Hey Frank, I'm doing well. It's been a minute. How are you doing? I started Carcosa for the first time and playing the artist and loving it so far. Safina is really cool, and Carcosa is really cool, Kato. I have no doubt you're going to enjoy it. The new Jinteki ID are so much more interesting than the new Weyland ID, but the new Weyland ID seems much more reliable. Why is Jinteki for jank and Weyland for competitive gameplay? Honestly, I don't like the way that the word jank is used in a lot of contexts. I think Jinteki inherently is meant to be less direct and is meant to be about obfuscation and doing like, you know, having a bunch of different things you have to do at the same time. Like get a card in the bin, keep it face down. Like it's about that sort of like, you know, flourish. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, as opposed to Weyland, which is I'm going to install an agenda on the table, and if you run it, I'm going to hit you with like 4 meat damage. They're just kind of, one's meant to be more direct, one's meant to be something else. Yeah, it's just how it's always been largely. It's very unusual for Jinteki to be as direct as Weyland will be. Pat Zhao also means Buddhism, so his name is portmanteau with Buddhism and the Vietnamese pronunciation of John the Baptist. Sorry for going on about this, but I love the wordplay in his name. No, for sure. I really want to hear about this. That's really cool. Do you think our snare reprint is going to look like? I would originally would say that it wouldn't have the tag clause, but it seems like FFG like has been pushing Jinteki to have tags, which I really haven't cared for the way that's been landing. It's hard. I don't know. Like it is a card that has been directly reprinted all the way from 1996 with no numbers on it changed. So whatever, like, I don't know. I think it has to cost money. We saw Behold hit the same precedent. Like maybe it does more damage, less tags. No, I feel like it's kind of nice. I honestly don't know. George is bonkers. Yeah, Jeff knows. Yo, good stuff on cast. It's been a lot of fun. Akko is so good. Okay, hold on. We need to catch up to the spoilers so that for those who are tuning in, we can talk about the cards because everyone will be on the same page. I'm pretty sure anyone watching this has seen the spoiler cards. If not, awkward, but we'll get there. Akko is probably better than Zwicky, but I love the theme of Zwicky so much for that I'm going to main it now. Yeah, it's cool. Akko looks very strong, and if you build it into a little, it'll be very consistent. I feel it's hard to tell. Topan is just value though. What support do you need? You need triggers. You need things that fire. I can't search Topan here. There's no shot. I think you need reasons to do the ability. You need cards that trash from hand. You need to have good 2-cost installables. Most Anarch decks are actually not installing that many cards, right? Like what are you installing that often in a like straightforward Anarch deck? I think if you get something that impacts the reliability of the ID, that's such a game changer, right? Like if Titanium Ribs gets a functional reprint or something like this, like then Topan gets really good. Then they're popping off. But right, like one card like this can have the biggest impact. Obviously too, like this is a ridiculous thing to say, but like Clan Vengeance, there are so many things that can make Topan go from like, okay, that's some inconsistent but consistent value into like, oh shit, you have a game plan. And so far we haven't seen the game plan. We've just seen like windmill out and hopefully you don't ruin yourself, which I'm cool with not ruining yourself or ruining myself sometimes. It's fun. I'm also for Michael my game, buying and selling with Joey. I sleeved up an Agatha deck and a Michael deck, and my partner and I were meant to play it, but then my brother-in-law is like, we haven't played Arkham in a while, so we play Arkham, which like, that was a pretty sick thing to say because he's right and he's fun to play with, but he's slowing us down, I'll be honest. Daniel, get your shit together. So we haven't started it yet. I personally think Topan can stand up to Hoshiko. We did genuinely float the ban, but it didn't feel necessary to take preemptive action. It neither made a splash, then maybe we'll talk about it, but seems important to act before it's even released. No, I agree. Like, I have no doubt if that is going to be a problem, that we still get Hoshiko supremacy. Like, Hoshiko will be banned eventually, and then getting DreamNet back actually would be kind of nice, considering everybody wants to run a bit more. But yeah, I do think out of the gate, getting rid of Hoshiko would probably... Okay, seeing the ideas, I don't think you need to encourage people to play the ideas. They look fun enough. I think that's enough. 2 Link and a Dream. I'm a huge fan of Jinteki's kick flippy faction. I wish Flick Flack was good. Yeah, so far we haven't seen that many cards, so we don't know how good Flick Flack will be. Started playing Marvel Champions because of you. Solo mode for now. As is Arkham Horror as complicated as Marvel Champions. The number of options I can do on my turn Marvel Champions feels like a lot. It is more complicated and more punishing. It has an action economy BPIX like Netrunner, where you have 3 clicks on your turn and you can like click to draw a card, click to take a credit, which is called a resource. The majority of interactions are all skill tests, which is you compare your stat to the difficulty and then you pull randomly a token out of the bag and that will have a negative number. And then basically it's kind of like tracing. You have to tie or succeed on your side to beat the thing. And there's just an auto fail in the bag. That being said, it's a game more like an RPG where like you can make decisions based off of what your character would do. You're moving between locations. There's enemies chasing you down. You spend experience to upgrade your deck. So your deck on like scenario 1 versus scenario 8 is entirely, well, somewhat unrecognizable. It's a very different game. I don't like Arkham Horror as a solo game. I haven't played anywhere as much Arkham Horror solo as much as a lot of people do, but that's why I have Marvel Champions as my solo game. We'll be streaming some Marvel Champions tomorrow. I did some streaming setup. It's pretty cool how it works now, but I'm glad you've been enjoying it. I think Marvel Champions is like actually pretty slick. It says draw 2. It says draw 2 with DBS. Wait, what are we talking about? I'd say that Arkham is more complex overall, but a lot deeper, more story focused. Yes, it's much more story focused, where like I think you can play Marvel Champions like it is Slay the Spire and just have a good time. Topan is just Patrick. I think it's pretty reg. I think Topan and Patrick, I think it's very easy to combine the two, but Topan is not Patrick. Oh my God, Patrick is really, really good. It allows you to play events. You pick the card. Topan doesn't do that. That is like saying Lagu is like Max. It's like kind of true, but missing a lot of context. Not that Lagu isn't bad. Will Bang be the new snare? Oh, I'm thinking shoot. It could be. I imagine it'll have an exclamation mark if it shows up, but I have no idea what they're going to do with it, if at all. I'm less thrilled about the near prints. Weakens the send off of effigy cards and just trying to be less exciting. I hear you, but like at the end of the day, if I'm gonna have Sure Gamble, I'm gonna have Sure Gamble. I don't think a game without Sure Gamble or Hedge Fund makes the game necessarily a better place. A game without Biotic Labor, like, do you need to make Biotic Labor more complicated just so you can say it's your card? I'm not necessarily, but I hear you, but I'm not as worked up about it. Apologies, I don't mean to say you're worked up. I feel like if anything, the reason Jinteki IDs seem more jank is that things that are interesting about Weyland are harder to put on an ID. You can't exactly print a do 5 meat damage ID. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Weyland's had some really cool IDs though. I have a non-Netrunner friend in Malaysia and she's been very impressed with the elevation stuff so far. So NSG has done a good job of grounding it into local culture. Yeah, they did a post about their like cultural consultant, if I'm not mistaken. It is a part of the world I know very little about. I imagine a lot of folks on my part of the planet don't know a lot about it, which is like always been really, it's just going to consistently be a lot of fun to figure out how to pronounce words incorrectly and or, you know, learn about the culture. Andre CV apologist confirmed. No, but you know what I mean, right? I don't know if I've said hi, Joe. Biotic getting a direct reprint and crossing my fingers for a direct reprint of snare. It's in the possibilities. It's a card that you could change a number on and make it like a smaller snare. I do think also CCG Netrunner had a smaller snare too. They had a snare and then they had a snare that just was like 2 damage and had no cost. So like you could do a snare like, I imagine that's possible, but I like it when the traps have costs. Your screen behind you is showing your screen as well. Yeah, no, it's set up like that. I did that intentionally. I don't know if it's good or not. This is the screen that's on here, so it's not like you're gonna see anything that you're not intended to see. I have all my like secret screens. Perhaps the back screen could showcase a mini Andre. I think I'm just gonna turn it off if it's distracting. Let me know if it is distracting. This is the first time we've done it, and it's like whatever. Are you gonna stream Marvel Champions tomorrow? Sorry, I missed that part. Yeah, Frank, I've been streaming pretty consistently every Friday. It's youtube.com/crash_grid. We just finished our whole campaign. We didn't stream these. These are videos where we played through Age of Apocalypse, and then we've been streaming every like Friday and just doing something new. So we'll stream tomorrow. Yeah, you can find the link. I'll put it in the chat. It's been really fun. If we hit 500 subscribers, I'm allowed to put on monetization, which like I'm obviously interested to some extent of that. Not that it's a lot of money, but yeah, if you want to subscribe to the channel, it helps a lot. We also sometimes do like other board game stuff on here. Like we've done, well, Bellatra, we played Daybreak. So there's other stuff on this channel, but this is mostly where I do non-Netrunner stuff casually. But Pat did skills last night. How's it going, Zen? Arkham and Lord of the Ring, I can't play solo. I've tried and I cannot complete a game and feel confident I earned the results. I just miss stuff, make rules mistakes. I've been running into that when playing solo Marvel Champions is I make a rules mistake and I don't catch it and then I edit the video and it's like, oh, this feels so bad. I keep hearing Topan is Patrick. Hey, Kat, are you playing this weekend? Flammo. Hey, Whitest. Happens to me every time someone says Patrick. Oops. I've always played Arkham solo, but that's because I have no one to play with. I think Arkham solo too, I'd rather play two-handed, which is not that hard to do. Read Topan versus Patchwork, damage is less controlled, but an ID ability on it from turn 1 guaranteed. Oh yeah, 100%. And that's like the difference between Lagu and Max. It's like Max is more destructive, but it's on turn 1. So you can compare them, and a lot of cards that work well with one work well with another, but it's not as consistent as you want it to be, as much as it starts on turn 1. Yeah, shoot is a Weyland expendable. So they had shock? Yeah, they had a shock, but it didn't fire from archives, and I think it was 2 net damage. It might have cost something to trash too, which is funny. I don't expect to see much more local influence and elevation. SG is just too cosmopolitan to begin with. Sorry? What do you mean, Jai? It's minorly distracting, or I'm going to just turn it off, okay? I think that's fine. Maybe replace the screen with a giant stuffed. All right, that's fine. We tried. It was okay. I was expecting it to be bad, so I don't mind. Did we get a snare near print? No. People are just like assuming there'll be a snare in there for some reason, which like I don't want people to get excited. We have no idea. Topan is Patrick is the news and Dia is Michi. One more subscription. Thank you, Frank. 279. I'm off to play some Split Fiction, but with catching the VOD first thing in the morning, hate that I'm missing the final wheel of Ugly. Oh my God, I have to spin the wheel. I forgot about that. Ren, enjoy Split Fiction. It sounds fun. Wheel of Ugly doesn't work. Wheel spinner. We'll find it. It's the ugly one. Yeah, this one. This is going to be a fun wheel. Okay, hold on. We're going to do all the reading and we're going to talk about the cards and we're going to make this more focused. We just have to get this ready because we have to get through this. We're going to be streaming. We started a bit late. We'll stream like 15 minutes extra, but we'll get through everything. We'll start at the beginning. Bunch of articles went up. Technically, it only started on like Tuesday, Scoop season. I forgot about that. So the first thing that went up is this, which is Welcome to Elevation's preview. This is written by Null Signal. Cool name. So we've seen a bunch of cards here and they added this at the bottom. So firstly, there's a story and NSG playtesting. Those are articles. On Thursday, that's today, we have a story and an article from Narrative and Visual. Tomorrow, there's going to be another story and then NSG Narrative is going to write something and then on it goes. Now, community doesn't start till the 17th. And so on that Thursday QTM, which mind you, they just recently put out a podcast a couple days ago that had David and Rhiannon on it, which was a good listen. And then the Surveyor, which is Kikai's blog, and then a bunch of other stuff from here. Some of these I don't recognize, which I think is pretty sick. Mind you, we're doing something on the 21st. We'll probably drop it in the morning. I think Bob will probably do it on the stream. Neon Static will do in the evening. I don't know what NSG is up to, but this is cool. Obviously, it's really cool. It tells you a bit more information too, so you can look into it. So in theory for tomorrow, we're meant to expect something, an inside story of a gig so intense, Kota Kalimantan's trash metal scene will never be the same, whether that's about Ryu or something else interesting. And lead editor Cobra Bubbles shares a conversation with Ginevra from the narrative and visual team about the creation of 2 key characters from Kota Kalimantan, including a new criminal runner. So we'll get a new criminal as of tomorrow. Wednesday, the 16th. Backroom deals. Oh, it starts sooner. You're right. It starts on Sunday. Excuse me. So on the 16th, it's the ShadowNet, Rapid Nui, and Backroom deals. Huge. I thought it started here. It's just color coded by column. Good catch. Or by row. Excuse me. Yeah, it starts on the 16th. Live Andre talks so much slower than VOD 3.0 speed. I can't do 3.0 speed. I'll be the first to say it. 2.0 is enough for me. 3 gives me a headache. Streamer makes minor's error career over. No, but like you'd want to correct it. All right, let's catch up. Bear, Weyland Acid, when the runner accesses this, pay 4 credits to have Bear maul the runner for 3 meat damage and a tag. Imagine they move Snare to Weyland. How fun would that be? Métropole draws lines of war, cancels backroom deals. Replacing Snare with Bear would be very confusing for many reasons. The Bear Snares? I think the Bear Snares will like it. All right, are we going to do a read of this? I think we're going to do a read from this. This is Plutus from Patrick Sklar. Patrick's in chat, so you direct your comments cleanly at his face. The Bears. Content warning at the top. The story contains content related to cults, drowning, and torture. And it says specifically waterboarding. If you want to pop out for that, this will last about 10 minutes and then we'll be back. There is a card at the bottom, but if content warning, I'll just pause for 30 seconds so you can check out if you want to. What's that above the content warning? What the fuck? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What in the... Okay. Wait, I do... I don't know what this is. What is this? I was going to miss that entirely. The content password protected to view it. Please enter your password. What's my password? Is this in the article? No? What the heck is the password? Not a scoop. Come on, LastPass. Be cool. It's swordfish. That's a good call. Oh, imagine. Holy shit, what is this? This is incredible. I think we have to read the article. Did they come up with a password? Have you checked the underside of your desk? No, Pat. Oh, I did. I honestly just did. What the heck is this? Can I inspect element my way out of it? That's usually how I get out of my problems. I inspect element out of this. In before, can I make a guess? Yeah, totally. Thanos, how's it going? Hold on. This is the common JNet password I use. No, didn't work. Stop it, LastPass. Oh no, for the people who left for 10 minutes. Yeah, I know. I think I have to read the article because I'm pretty sure at the end they dive in and they get something from it. I read this, mind you, a couple days ago. Okay, we're gonna read it. That's so fucking funny. That is genuinely very funny. Okay, here we go. We're gonna read this. We're gonna try Alep. I think that's at the end. Okay, hold on. Yeah, I guess we should do that. That's from the article. Okay. All right, here we go. We've been This is a church, the stream is an altar, and this is a sacrifice. Are you ready to jack in? Okay, chat. I imagine we hit this button. I've read the article. Maybe this will make more sense if we read the article. Holy shit. Okay, hold on. Welcome, Andre. We've been expecting you. What the heck? Plutus. This is the card that I was expecting to be in the article. Unique deep net asset from Adam S. Doyle. This is what Patrick's icon has been for a while. Weyland res for 0, trash for 3 influence. As an additional cost to res this asset, forfeit 1 agenda or reveal and trash 3 cards from HQ. So that is going to be face up trashes, which is pretty notable. That's weird. Not a lot of cards say that. When your turn begins, you may play 1 transaction operation from archives. I'm assuming paying all costs. After it resolves, remove it from the game. Rejoice, executives, the net has sent us to profit. Okay, this is really funny because this was the card that you were expecting to see in the article. And I was like, Pat, is Plutus meant to be in the article? And he said, yeah, something moved. And I didn't realize it was going to be to do this, which is so funny. But yeah, this is sick. So yeah, this art is really, really good. Pat had this art for a while. So you see like the Plutus skull, and mind you, Plutus was the god of wealth and currency, if I'm not mistaken, in Greek religion and mythology, the god of personification of wealth, which makes sense. And mind you, this image comes up as the scary DeepNet image that has showed up before. So this also plays transactions, so you can play your hedge fund 3 times, which is really quite good if you draw a card every time that happens. So like you immediately discard a card and then you play it clicklessly, so you draw a card in Zwicky. 3 trash cost is technically high for the world we live in. This is so funny. Pat and folks from SG who did this, that's very funny. I was expecting something in person, but this is kind of wild. It's not Stinson, yeah. So this doesn't say playing all costs, and I feel like reminder text would be good because the older players have seen something kind of familiar back in the day called Barney Stinson, and this card got banned out because it was just cracked. It basically had this clause: while the runner has fewer than 6 credits, you can play a transaction ignoring all costs. So there's like this idea that you play transactions from your bin, ignoring all costs, and then you remove them from the game. So this is like a retread of an old card that is mega busted. What is the URL here? The truth of Plutus.html. Barney? You know what I mean. It's the same guy, Barney Stinson from the show. Yeah, this would be wild with the Stinson clause for sure. Quiet part out loud. Yeah, I didn't even consider that. That just happened. That's totally fine. Wow, that's neat. This is the sort of thing, like in context now, I think Zwicky seems a lot cooler because now you have a way to get double value from all your operations. You also can res this at any instant ability speed. So you technically can res this in Oko. You can technically res this to ditch your hand if you're playing any of the Jintekis, honestly, to get cards out of your hand. So you can clicklessly res this to get cards out of your hand to deal with the other one. What's it called? Pitun Chen. You can res this to just duck like HQ pressure. Very, very cool. Very, very, very cool. How do I know what set does a card belong to? The symbol. There's always like an icon next to it. If you go on Netrunner DB, you can look it up. But the set icon, this is not the highest quality, but this is the Kota Kalimantan, the tower itself. But the set icons. So for Borealis, it's a circle, like an eclipsing kind of sun thing. And then for the last set, it's the little Saba bird, I think it's called. Plutus is a demon from Inferno 2, the one that shouts Alep at the start of Dante's Inferno. Oh, Ava, cool. I have not read that classic. The gnat has sent unto us. Rejoice, executives. But this is really, really funny. I totally would have missed that line. I do not read the first line. That is so funny. This lets you FA with greasing with no tag. Lets you play RLC for 1 credit. Yeah, what can you do with this that's like hella busted? Because you can, when your turn begins, play an operation. So any operation that installs a card. So yeah, greasing is it has to be a transaction, sorry, a transaction specifically. So this is where like a lot of people have done this, where they've looked at the set of transactions and thought like, okay, like, oh man, in terms of context, this is so important. So hold on, we'll do this. N, type transaction, spell it somewhat accurately. Transaction. Imagine we had the monitor in the back with the skull on it. Z standard. Not type, sorry, S subtype. So this is the thing when you look at Zwicky, is that you need cards that give you credits because otherwise Zwicky doesn't fire. So the fact that you can like corporate hospitality, you do spend the click though. So it's a click to draw, 4 and technically draw more cards because of the ability. But greasing the palm lets you install a card. If they're tagged, you can fast advance a 4/2, which is pretty wild. Predicted planogram, I think people are talking about playing this in Zwicky. It's kind of silly though, because you have to gain 3 and draw 1 card. Maybe that's fine for 1 influence. Honestly, it probably is. You can red level clearance to clicklessly install like a non-agenda card if you want to. Have you gained clicks at this point of the turn? Start a turn? I'm not actually sure. I'd have to look at the chart. Does your turn end or not? What do you mean, Jai? Corporate hospitality, get corporate hospitality back rather than RFG? Holy crap, can you do that? No, does it resolve in your hand? RLC just to be cheap biotic? Yeah, you can just RLC right to get a click. You just gain the credits and gain a click. That's really funny. You gain a click back. When do you get a click? You have clicks? Plutus to turn unarmed asset? Yeah, that's funny. But like, do you Plutus an op? As a 0 coster? I think trashing 3 from your hand is quite the cost. I don't know. This is a very interesting and flexible card. I like this art a heck of a lot. That's a really good use of Adam Doyle. That's a very good use of Adam Doyle. If this doesn't show up on a playmat, I'll be very, very surprised. Steven, not only is it spoiler season, when we logged into the article, it says, hello, Andre, we've been waiting for you. And then chat knew the password because they read the article. I read this, mind you. We're going to read it again, but that's really, really funny. We had to log into this. This is ridiculous. It changes zones, so you save it. You do save it. The cards in the play zone were resolving, not in archives. Uh-oh, we have 2 people with competing rules suggestions. So the idea is that it is in the in the limbo state, so you can't grab it because it's not in archives. That was a test to see if Andre reads my stories. I read it, Pat. I read it Tuesday morning when it came out. Wednesday, whatever, man. I was going to read it again. Yeah, this is a card I think that makes me a lot more excited for Zwicky, because one of the problems with Zwicky is transactions are okay, but the fact that I can now play the same transaction twice obviously doubles the value of those, like, oh, I spent 2 influence for greasing the palm, or 3 influence. How much is greasing the palm? That's pretty wild. Pretty wild. Corp Hospitality, can you recur when you play it with Plutus before? No, you can't, Daria, because that was the question, yeah. But you don't seem to be able to do it because it is resolving, which means it is not in the archives anymore. Yeah, the operation is in the play area. It's in limbo. It's not in the bin. This is a cool card. This is a really, really cool card. The fact that it is actually like applicable to 3 of the IDs we've seen so far is massively surprising. I imagine it might be more than that. Intervention? Ark, what are you asking about? Intervention is a card, isn't it? Or interdiction. It's an old card. But I'm not sure. Wow, very, very cool. Are we going to do a read along? I think we are. This one's the longer of the 2, so buckle up. We're going to do a bit of a reading. All right, again, content warning. Sorry that you popped out before. You might want to pop out again. I promise you there will be a second card. It seems so flexible. You can run it in tons of stuff. Yeah, it does seem interesting. I wonder if that's the only replacement for Audacity in the set. Well, we have Biotic Labor. I imagine we could see another fast advance card. I don't think this is a fast advance card. I think it's actually pretty inconsistent to make this a fast advance card. Actually, maybe it's not, but it's definitely not Biotic Labor. It's more like a Bass, right? Because you have to put this on the table. It has to survive a turn cycle. There might be another one. There's a second card. No, there's not. Does Plutus work with terminal transactions since you're not in your action phase? Do we have terminal transactions? I don't think we do, but that's a cool question. Man, playing KPI clicklessly from your bin makes it a lot better. That you get a clickless advancement. Like, it's seamless. Is this the only card transaction that gives it? Like, that makes KPI also much more exciting. Because this is a clickless, yeah, seamless. It's a wall-to-wall. Wild. There's a second card. It's not password protected. PMK, what are you talking about? Oppo's terminal? Yeah, but it has to be a transaction. So IPO is the one terminal transaction, yeah. Yeah, not in standard. But I'm not sure if you can play terminals or whether when you play the terminal, it just ends your phase. But technically, so the text on a terminal is that it ends your main phase. What do they call it? Your action phase. The thing is, you're not in your action phase. You're in your like upkeep phase or whatever they call it. Yeah, Plutus is really cool. All operations gain transaction. Honestly, if that was like an asset, that'd be reasonable. What set does smoke belong to? So all you want to do is go to Netrunner DB and search smoke. And then smoke, it'll say, is it from intervention, right? And intervention is a data pack. So FFG, what they used to do is that they would have a cycle that would be 6 different data packs. So that would be the symbol here, which is, you see how it says there flashpoint? That's the cycle. You're right, it's not super obvious from here, but that is the set icon. That's the flashpoint icon. If you want to know otherwise, if you ever find a set name, you can go back to sets. And if you search here intervention, you'll notice that intervention was the 3rd data pack from Flashpoint. Or 4th, sorry, it goes from bottom up. Yeah, it's not super intuitive, but FFG did slightly different, where there was a lot of different products that make up one cycle. NSG does too. We need an answer to the terminal question before I can evaluate how broken this is. There are no terminal transactions in standard, Cat. I'm assuming it would work, but it has to be a transaction. If you reveal and trash cards from HQ, are they trash face up? Yes, they are trash face up, which I don't think we've ever seen awarded like that. I do not know another card that trashes face up, but reveal and trash means they will be face up, which is weird. It matters for AAP, yeah. AAP, you can set up AAP with this because you can trash ice or whatever you want. You can trash an agenda to make armed asset protection a lot better. This fires Hyobu? Yeah, I guess it does reveal, huh? Expendables reveal and trash face up? Oh, sick, okay. That makes sense, but that was more like reveal this card. But yeah, okay, so that's the same wording. Is this set never going to be legal and standard again? Intervention? Intervention hasn't been legal and standard in like 2 years. No, it'll never be legal and standard again. Standard is only going to be null single games cards as of April. So any FFG card will not part of that, any FFG release. Litigated in the rules, the text of a terminal is expanded in the CR and it forces you to sends you straight to your discard phase. So you'd skip your action phase entirely, I believe. Well, that's weird. That's technically not how it's worded. It's not worded to do that. On res, adding face downs would be broken with certain Jinteki cards. Holy crap. You can just feed people punitive. If they just run archives, you can just like res this to throw it like 6 points. Huh? It's forfeit agenda or reveal. I thought it was and. Okay, that's obviously a lot better. That's or. This is wild. Do you skip your mandatory draw? I think you do. We do not have punitive? Yeah, but like punitive like cards. Like you can be on threat 4 as soon as turn 1 if you want to be. It's good that we don't punitive. How's it going, Jason? Lockmanos. Good thing punitive's rotating, yeah. The idea of discarding your 3 non-ambush cards while they run HQ. I've done that before though. Like I know I've definitely like moonpooled just so my hand is only snare. Right? Like that happens commonly. 3 Nightmare Archives, yeah. Man, this card's really cool. This card is hella cool. And this is what I mean, where like context makes the identities more exciting, usually by a large margin. There's an official answer for the terminal interaction yet, by the way. We're still writing a CR update. Okay, yeah, that tracks. Is this a trash on site? Yeah, I think so. If you're playing against Zwicky, yeah, I think you have to trash this on site. This is a win condition for them because they can fast advance with this. And it means that they're mandatory drawing 2 cards a turn. Zwicky's first time though, which is interesting because this is on your turn. So this will eat the Zwicky trigger, which is probably fine. You want to draw on click 0 if you can draw anyways. Pitching Nightmare Archives in front of something getting a successful run is funny. It's very, very funny. Absolutely going to PE decks 100%. Load Fuji into archives. Yeah, but PE rotates too, Spark. You did the thing I did. We're in the olden days. You're playing specifically against Wiki, you must trash this. Yeah, I would trash this. I would say if anybody plays this in the deck, you probably should trash it. Just like Clickless Hedge Fund for 0 is pretty good. It might not fire more than that. Like, it's not Svi de Gore, Excavator. I forgot how to say that card name. Apologies, but you know what I mean. That's so funny. Hello, Andre. We've been waiting for you. Oh, that got me so good. Well done, y'all. Makoto Greek, 5 grids to trash is quick. Hello, Runner. We've been waiting for you. Oh, that is quick. Oh, man. I should have screen capped that. If not, like, this is on the internet. We've been expecting you. This is a church. The stream is an altar, and this is a sacrifice. Are you ready to jack in? I asked Pat. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this card was meant to be part of this. Like, what is going on? And he's like, I don't know. Something happened. And then there's been no conversation about it. That's very funny. Trash this versus anyone? Yeah, I think I would trash it. That's a lot of value. It's only 3 to trash. All right, we're going to do the read. 3rd time, content warning. If you want to pump out for a bit, it might be a good time. If you don't want to deal with the cults, drowning, torture, and waterboarding, okay? Glad you enjoyed. That was fun to execute. That's really, really cool. How long was it up there? Like for the beginning of the stream or like 10 minutes? Like what was the risk calculation there? Shout out, Izzy. That's sick. If they pay 3 cards or 1 agenda to res it, it isn't worth 3 credits to you to trash. You need to have a talk after the game about your different card evaluation. Well, maybe you need your credits. Maybe you need it. All right, here we go. Kai reminded himself that no one was really from Kota Kalimantan, a city so new, couldn't have locals. Not yet. I think I can just hide my camera. How do I do this? Hold on. It's fine. Kai reminded himself that no one was really from Kota Kalimantan, a city so new, couldn't have locals. Not yet. So why did he feel like such an outsider? The hawker center occupied an alley between 2 tower blocks. Just flaps of canvas diverting the rain into sewers, and underneath them, an open market. Dozens of stalls selling all sorts of necessities, knickknacks, and hot food in a space narrower than Kai's own apartment. The sense assaulted him as he passed by. Here, the chemical stink of a homemade chicken vat, and the grill going right beside it. There, synthetic coconut and eye-watering spices from the Laxa stall. He was dizzied by deja vu. By another alleyway village, by the chasm of time between leaving that place and arriving here now. He shook himself hard and popped a flavor tap. The mint obliterated every other scent and taste. That's cool. He muttered his mantra to himself. Every step you've taken since you left has been easier than the last. Every decision you make is the right one. The words felt emptier than ever. Classic Pat punchline. But Kai would still see it through. By the end of the day, he would either have everything he'd wanted or not. He could hold off the self-doubt until then. It was the shop at the back of the alley he was here for. Unlike the wheeled carts and folding tables, it was a permanent structure, or else someone had made an effort to make it seem that way, and seemed as out of place as Kai did. It would have fit right in with every other storefront in his own neighborhood. It had nailed the cloying retro quaint style that was in vogue these days. Faux wood panels, complete with weathering and peeling stain. Randomized flickering in the lights over the entrance. The shop looked crumpled, too. Like the structures to either side of it had been moving in, crushing it millimeter by millimeter. The whole thing gave off the stink of trying way too hard. And for a moment, Kai felt right at home. As he approached, a young girl held aside the strips of translucent plastic that acted as a doorway. She wore an oversized pink alley minimum t-shirt, like a dress, and held out a hand, palm up, as he stepped inside. Inside the shop was definitely not like anything he'd seen in his own neighborhood. It was a jumble of mismatched, unlabeled boxes and teetering shelving. He couldn't see any organization to it, but the other customers didn't seem to mind. In one corner, 2 teenagers were picking through a box of sun-damaged and broken toys, acting like they found a treasure trove. Didn't that actually set people's games on fire, though? No, that was the cover story for the recall. Truth was even stranger. At another shelf, a skinny punk with fiery spikes for hair was tapping a Gachapon capsule, irritating some misty hollow trapped within. "Is authentic?" they called out, and someone shouted from behind a stack of bins. "My daughter saved it from her last purge, as authentic as it gets." Skinny punk with fiery spikes for hair. So the Gachapon is definitely a reference. I don't know if that's a character we exactly know. "Put it on my tab," the punk shouted back. As they turned to exit, Kai caught a glimpse of their face. He could swear he knew them from somewhere. Maybe if they were sneering, he could place them. Wait, is that going to be Max? Or is that Phoenix? I imagine it's more Phoenix for sure. That makes way more sense. Max? A tug at his sleeve took his focus back. A short woman, skin as dark and rough as wet sand, was eyeing him with suspicion. Looking for something, salaryman? Soul sticks? He asked, like he didn't really know, like he was buying a gift for someone more interesting than he was. The woman tisked and gestured for him to follow, stopping at a low server tower. Mem chips of a dozen different makes were plugged in haphazardly. This is also like an idea that comes up through most of Netrunner fiction, and we had that card exactly printed. The like physical way that mem chips have been depicted is pretty consistent through the history of the game. Above each of them was a light, either displaying red, green, or a flickering between the two. How many? She asked. Dozen? Is that what people ask for? She shrugged. Dozen's good. Okay, yeah, a dozen. It's like me ordering donuts. She pulled a sheet from a pocket and whipped it into a bag. Hold it. Then quick as anything, she plucked green-lit mem chips from the tower, tossing them over her shoulder into the bag. He didn't bother counting. While she hovered over one mem chip, fingers dancing in the air as its light turned from flickering to solid green before yanking it out, Kai's mind was elsewhere. On a vertical farm, mimicking his auntie's fluid movements as they plucked fist-sized raspberries from a bush that spanned an entire wall, catching them in their aprons. 12. Kai nodded and followed her back to the counter, blinking away the farm, the auntie, the red-stained fingertips. That was a decade and 5,000 kilometers away. In the here and now, he had his pad out to pay. No credits for soul sticks. Right. He'd been told as much. He pulled out a fistful of bills, a mix of ocean rupia denominations. He'd never had reason to use this scannable plastic currency, but he knew they were printed in huge quantities at the outset of Kodakali's construction. One of the pointless screw yous Ocean gave the megacorps that had fizzled with realities when reality set in. This is a really cool like narrative thing about like the sort of currency between Ocean that I believe is like building the tower, if I'm not mistaken, and having this sort of like, I don't know, script like currency for the people who are working there and trying to destabilize, and the fact that it's not universally valued is obviously very, very fascinating science fiction. Except in places like this, Kai supposed. Reality hadn't caught up with him here. Not yet. Kai was starting to piece together something, a puzzle he'd rather not solve. The grain in the fake wood was just a hair too good. The retro lights buzzed at just the kind of frequency no one would intentionally subject a customer to. This place didn't just look old. It was old. Older than the city. Unmoving as the foundations of tower blocks were practically laid right on top of it. I don't belong here. I don't belong here. I don't. He dropped the bundle of bills on the counter and hurried out. It was way too much, but he suddenly felt like he couldn't trust himself to count. Whereupon he collided with the kid from the doorway, his bag flying from his hands and sending its contents clattering along the asphalt. He bent over to scoop the soul sticks up, finding a few, looking around frantically for the rest. The girl had picked up a handful and was holding them out to him. Give me those! He swept them from her hand into the bag. I'm sorry, she said, eyes to the ground. I'm hungry, and he put his hand out to cut her off. Ask him there. I think I paid 10 times whatever these are worth. At the mouth of the alley, he caught an auto hopper and gave it the uptown address. Whatever these are worth, truth was, he didn't know for sure. They might be priceless, or he might be a gullible idiot. Auto hopper, I don't think we've heard that term come up, which like, that term immediately makes sense to Netrunner players, which is pretty great. But like, what soul sticks are is not obvious at this point in the narrative. The fact that it looks like the soul sticks are somewhat edible? I paid 10 times whatever these are worth? I don't know. It's not obvious whether the person wanted to eat these and whether they're sustenance. I think maybe there's not. Once he was airborne, he steadied himself, took a breath. He peeked at his haul and counted them. 11. That little shit. Jeremiah, Jer, he insisted, was wearing a dark green robe over casual clothes as he opened the door. Yeah, there it is. What's the password? Kai was stumped. You didn't tell me any password. You told me just to get these. Jer barked a laugh. Calm down, Kai. It's cool. There's no password. Your first time. For the record, though, it's Alep. What is Alep? Indonesian to English? I think it's just a pickpocket for food money. Yeah, it might be. Oh, Alep means Alep. From Estonian, it means Aleppo. Very cool. Very cool. I feel like I know less. Help me out. It's nonsense word from Dante's Inferno. Oh, right. It showed up. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Very cool. Should I be wearing a robe? Oh, this? Nah, it's just for setting the tone. We're doing some dark magic after all, eh? If Kai was a transplant, Jer was even more so. He transferred here from a satellite office in Media City, his thin limbs a testament to the low-grav hab domes. Jer led Kai down a hall to a strange office setup, one big console station taking up a corner of what had been a dining room. There were 2 seats in front of the rig, one fancy ergonomic recliner with built-in gaps for jacks and BMI inputs, and a plastic stool. Don't worry, guests get the good one. Take a seat, and I'll take those. Kai handed him the bag before leaning back in the chair. I only got 11. I don't know if that's enough. That's plenty. Jared brought out a low brass bowl and placed it above the hollow monitor projector. He dumped the soul sticks into the bowl. We're going to go into this right away. Need to pee? Your setup will be twin to mine, so no worry for not knowing the way. Nobody does their first time. I mean it, though. Do you need to pee? The twin comment for what we understand from what the twinning is. I'm not sure what the narrative, the flavor on twinning is meant to be, but I know we've seen like the alt art with Abraham on it, like jacked in to the sort of like mind thing. Named for the Voyage dans la Lune filmmaker. Aleppo, or the city there? Aleppo chili pepper exists, I suppose. Yeah. Hey, Donovan, how's it going? A spotted Canadian ruins the immersion. What, you're not worried about the millimeters? And there was another like Canadianism in this, but it's like not exactly Canadian. Kai shook his head. Oh, I guess you probably have some questions, eh? Well, there we go again. Well, you're about to get a hell of a lot of answers, and riches beyond our wildest dreams besides. But there can't be any doubts before we do it, so ask away. Kai's doubts were multiplying by the second, and figured he should probably dive in before they actually overwhelmed him. But one was jumping out right away. Did Jer's condo say riches before your wildest dreams? It had a nice view, Kai supposed, with the base of the Makota Langit visible in the afternoon light, but there was hardly any furniture, besides the fancy chair and the 1G adaptation exercise equipment. Expensive enough, he supposed. There was a takeout container on the floor, and not even fancy takeout. No questions. Liar. I'm excited too. I love introducing the newbies. First of all, I bet you've got no idea what I had you buy. Soul sticks? Soul sticks? For opening the way. They're keys? Every death everywhere creates a doorway into hell. These, he began lifting one soul stick out of the bowl, are just alive enough to count. Each one's a little AI creche on its own, feeding 1,000 fledgling programs 1,000,000 Boolean quandaries. Given enough time, randomization becomes consistency, becomes something. It's impossible to measure, but it's predictable. Like a reverse half-life. At least one intelligence emerges. Or, to put it another way, he snapped the mem chip in 2 and let the pieces fall. A soul. Then he produced a lighter and touched it to the rim of the bowl. A bright blue fireball foamed up and dissipated against the plasticrete ceiling. Oily, acrid smoke followed. Jer winked. Just setting the tone. Come on, let's do this. That's really wild. I think the term crash has been showing up a lot, and it comes up in a couple of the other narrative pieces and flavor stuff, which is wild. Millimeters? Hey, Tyke, how's it going? It's not Canadianism, they're just not American. Yes, which I think is accurate for the location, but I imagine as Americans might be a bit more confused by that. This is really, really cool. Yeah, understanding what exactly this is. The sort of like game of life idea too, the 1,000 fledgling programs, 1,000,000 quandaries, given enough time, the randomization becomes consistency is like definitely a comp sci thing. Kai's jack was resting at the lip of his BMI port. Oh, for those who don't know too, BMI is a thing that also showed up in Netrunner for, well, it shows up outside Netrunner too for like body machine interface. We had a couple BMI things before. I referenced BMI in like the stream title from last week, if I'm not mistaken too. But that does show up across Netrunner stuff. Same with like Plasticrete. There's always like small references to the world building that's been around. A brain machine. Oh, thank you. That's better. Crash, someone's playing BG3. I think there's another like kind of sci-fi card game that uses that term a lot that's coming out recently. Also called BCI, Brain Computer Interface. I've heard the other one more, yeah. Kai's jack was resting at the lip of his BMI port, just behind his right ear. Jer set himself up and plugged in. Kai follows right behind, the scrape and the bite of the jack, and then rushing water. He heard it, but couldn't see it. His visual adapters slow to adjust to the net space environment. Mumbling voices. Chanting, maybe? You could feel a tug too, but it wasn't mimicking any physical sensation. It was Jer's tether pulling him forward. His feet were moving. The water was growing louder. Finally, Jer stopped them. The tether was severed, and as it was, Kai's vision was restored. It's a planet, Kai thought. It resembled the projections of Earth and its millions of microsatellites back before the cleanup. One dense core of data, a program, surrounded by erratically orbiting information. And surrounding the whole system like a moat was a rushing river through net space, bending and changing even as Kai watched. And around the moat, looking outward like sentinels, monochromatic robed figures. Each of them carried a flaming staff, and not one of them left an impression anywhere other than his visual inputs. They may as well have been holograms. It was an absolute mess. An absolute disappointment. Take a walk around. Breathe it in, Kai. This is the real deal. He circled the tangled mess of data and couldn't make heads nor tails. It was just trash. There was an algorithm in there, sure, but one that's gone too moldy, too wonky. Its inputs were inane and its outputs impossible. But there had to be something to it. There needed to be. Then Kai finally saw it, as the orbiting data detritus aligned itself with his perspective. One periodolic image, undeniable, existing for a femtosecond, but it seared into his mind. A skull. I know that look. Jer was beside him. You've seen its face. It's amazing, isn't it? But there's even more. Behold. He was right, of course. Like a cipher, the skull made the mess into readable code. Kai gulped. Is it sentient? An emergent AI like the soul sticks? All those little minds, thousands of Boolean souls sizzling back at the condo. Oh, no, it's more than that. And less. It's entirely itself. It's possible, to read its entire history from the current positions and speeds of the data that orbit it. It really was just some bit of financial algorithmic software left to grow mold and copying errors in a corner of the net. But it never stopped. It took in information ceaselessly. Eventually, it factored itself into its own calculations. Now, it's this. Not an AI. It's almost a god, Kai, but mindless and focused, and ours, a godlet of capitalism delivering prophecies into the void. Kai sensed the tether reactivated and Jer pulled him in. The spray of the digital river couldn't wake him from the sudden stupor he found himself in, tracing stray comments of genius, any one of them an answer to a trillion-credit question. It demands nothing from us, Kai. If there was no one to listen, it would speak all the same. But its worshippers have their doctrines. This is a church, Kai, and the river is an altar. And this is a sacrifice. With that, Kai was submerged. He tried to swim, but his body was rigid. Jer's tether bound all his limbs. He called up his emergency command prompt, anything to snap himself back to reality, out of this net space nightmare. Nothing happened. This was his reality, as far as his mind was concerned. Water filled his lungs, and stars swam before his eyes. But even through the panic, he could see the pattern in the stars, and they developed, agonizingly slow, into pixels, and then into detail. An image. A city. Kota Kalimantan, he could tell, its distinctive topography surrounding the Makota Langit recognizable even as his most instinctual animal mind fought for supremacy at the end of his life. The city was made of light, but one light shone brightest. Kai knew that this was his own, there, at Jeremiah's condo. He saw the entire life up to this painful point laid bare in a brilliant, jagged lightning bolt, his own zigzagging movements around this corner of the world, the untaken road resembling withered branches, further and further back until he could see his own starting point, where his light was faintest. Every choice he made in his life had led him here. Every decision you make is the right one. He left his past behind and let his history fade into afterimage. When he followed the light back to Kota Kalimantan, back to where virtual water burned his real lungs, he saw his own light didn't end there. It moved beyond this point, into the future. No longer a jagged, ragged lightning bolt, but something stronger, alive. Every detail of his life had been fed to the algorithm, and it predicted and curated where he would go next. The light cut a path across the city, forming a brilliant line, and it intersected with the elevator. There it began to climb up and up, coiling like a greedy worm to the very top. And from there it climbed still into space, splitting and splitting, like a hydra that touched Luna and Mars and every satellite and every rock in the asteroid belt. And Kai was drawing in one wheezing lungful of air. He was in Jer's condo, but as he blinked tears from his eyes, he saw they were not alone. Jer and a dozen others surrounding him. A strange mix of folks, all wearing robes, all looking down at him with joy in their faces. One woman, with a water jug in one hand, pulled a soaked rag from his mouth. Then Jer was close. Did you see Kai? Did you understand? Kai nodded. Yes, I did. God, I did. When he tried to speak, he wept. Jer kissed his lips, his forehead. He was crying too. They all were. Say its name, brother Kai. Plutus. I saw Plutus. Plutus, the other spoke. A dozen hands gripped his. One older man embraced him, almost crushing him until he was gently peeled away. He remembered then. The drowning vision. More was still coming back to him. There were other bands of light traveling across the city to join him, ascending the elevator alongside him, surrounding him, twisting and nodding around him like rutting snakes. Everyone in this room had been in that vision. Everyone's destiny laid out so clearly. His family, he knew. They were his new family. Yo, that's sick. That's really, really good. Hey, Cactus, how's it going? Oh, man, that's wild. When did Netrunner become Arkham Horror? The fact that this becomes like, I don't want to say mystical, but like the obviously the horror tone, the deep net subtype has been showing up on a fair couple cards and always in a way that's like, you know, somewhat unexplicable. Like something is going on in the net space that has its mind of its own is really, really always very fascinating. The fact that this like sort of financial program has been able to like calculate people's futures and what that comes from this. My favorite part of the spoilers in the stories, they're really quite good. Shout out to Pat. This is fantastic. Apex pointing a gun at an astronaut. Oh. Always has been. Yeah, no, for sure. Does this mean I should have a horror, the fiction I'm writing for my narrative designer application? The idea of soul sticks was something I had in mind for more than a year and didn't think would be part of a Netrunner story, but rather an occultish cyberpunk story. But then we got the art for Plutus and the whole story came to me at once. Pretty sure Plutus and Holloman go for drinks at a bar regularly. I'm fascinated to know what this is behind Plutus, right? Like it reminds me kind of the Jabberwock with the sort of like dragon wing, but this tendril, and then it has the sort of like, I don't know. I don't know if there was like tentacles on the Jabberwocky, but it is like very, you know, deep net, very, very scary. I don't know whether that means we're going to hear or see more of Kai. Like clearly Kai is on some sort of journey. Obviously the fact that they were like pushing him to near death by waterboarding him just so he could experience the sort of like semi-religious experience is like pretty wild. And then the fact that the god that they worship that shows us their path is in fact like capitalism manifest. Yeah, that door art's really, really good. And that card seems sick. Second door art without hands. Yeah. Apparently they haven't been asking Doyle to draw hands. He's just been doing it. And there's technically a hand here. Man, very, very cool. Yeah, there's arguably hands here. Pat, great story. I think that's just really, really quite cool. And then of course at the bottom it comes with two things. Neuromancer Trilogy has a lot of mysticism. Is it not new for the genre? Man, I read Neuromancer many, many moons ago, and I don't remember a lot of mysticism in it, but I don't think I was looking out for it. Moldy finance monster. When you leave too many like crypto folks in the same room, and then their, what is that called? Their DAO, like gets a mind of its own, and then tells them what the world should be. Hazing rituals for fraternities are getting weirder and weirder. Yeah. The whole cult angle too is another thing. Like we're seeing two narratives that both have like religious overtones to it, which is a part of Netrunner that we haven't seen in a bit, and it's part of my favorite part. Does this cult relate to Zwicky Group? That is also like very, very cool. So this is the Zwicky Group for those who haven't seen it, which is the ID that was announced alongside it with obviously the name Plutus. The Zwicky Group is invisible hands and his identity is unsubstantiated. And from this art, it's all about the negative space, and this building doesn't exactly exist here. The fact that there's like the W in the sky or within the buildings, like these buildings are not real. I don't think these are projections, but it's meant to be the invisible hand. It is, you know, the things that are going behind the scenes. I don't know if Weyland has tapped into the sort of like Plutus mysticism and they're also using that for financial success. I think that's up to you to like figure out. I think Zwicky too is like a scientist that is referenced with dark matter. Fritz Zwicky, Swiss astronomer. He worked most of his life at the California Institute of Technology. Zwicky was the first to use the virial theorem to postulate the existence of unseen dark matter, which is why the name is the way it is, as much as it's also just a word that's fun to say. This is back in the 30s, 1933. And I still today don't know what dark matter is really. Self-conscious AIs appear as voodoo deities in Neuromancer. Oh, very cool, Schmendrix. I really should reread Neuromancer. It's been a minute. I think it's kind of interesting that Plutus doesn't seem to care about them. Just the mention of delivering prophecies into the void makes it sound like it would be predicting futures, regardless of whether people are listening to. Yeah, it doesn't seem to care, but it seems like Kai interacted or interfaced with this thing, and it kind of like mindlessly showed him his path. Like it knows everything, right? It can see all your decisions before, all decisions after, which in terms of like being an economic tool is massively useful for like very obvious means. But whether it's doing it because that's all it does, because the program just got moldy and got better at doing what it's doing. Yeah, Plutus doesn't care. Like, it's not reaching out to people. It looks like someone discovered Plutus, and then the Plutus cult begins. Like Santa. Oh, man. I just spotted the Plutus tease. Were there other scoops early in the stream? Kyle, no, that is the only scoop. When we logged in at the beginning, it said, like, hello, Andre, we've been waiting for you. It was very, very funny. Dark matter is basically just the universe keeps expanding, and we need a mechanical reason to make the maths explain why, and assuming there's matter we can't detect in any way solves the equation. That's dark energy? It's matter that seems to be there according to our models of the universe, but can't be measured. So what do I think about Zwicky? So building a better world has been in Netrunner since 2012. Nobody's liked it. It's not been very good. And it just says when you play transactions, gain an extra credit. It's whenever, but it just says you get extra credits. There was like one card that was printed in the late life of Netrunner that made transactions like synergy make some sense. And none of it was very, very good. But this identity is an identity that's kind of held onto Netrunner kind of in spite of itself. Like it's never been a thing you wanted to do. And there's always just been like, oh, we need an identity for system update or system core. And unfortunately it's this one, which like that kind of sucks. This is again 2012. Weyland was meant to be big and brash and making big money, and technically big money was a win condition back in the day, and this did win worlds technically, which is kind of funny. The first worlds ever. American Silicon Valley bros are already worshiping AIs. Yeah, it's kind of the idea. Yeah, the art's great. This is from Marianne Ruiz. I never know it's Marlon or Marianne. I think it's Marianne. Marianne did the art. Yeah, a bunch of other art, including Charlotte, if I'm not mistaken. Why is the Zicky's identity type as unsubstantiated? Because they don't exist, right? The idea is that like people believe that the invisible hand is behind the scene and the Zwicky Group is running like this whole, market square, but it's like the shadowy board. They don't exist. People suspect they're there, but they're not actually there, but they're always there, right? Building a better world is peak comedy. So Zwicky's the loose collection of various small businesses and shell corporations that feed into the Weyland Consortium overall goals. I don't know if it's that. The way that I see it more is that Zwicky is like a group behind the scenes that owns all these companies or controls all these companies, and those companies not aware of it, right? It's the idea of like the shadowy board to some extent. Unsubstantiated came from a convo between Jamie and I. We went through a few options and it was always important that this was not like other corps. Yes, not like other corpses. The idea here, like there's no Zwicky HQ as much as we are running Zwicky HQ somehow. Everyone won a bunch of tournaments with Zwicky and nobody published it on NetRunDB. Oh man, you try and publish it. It's like, no, sorry, we can't do that. Calling it a subsidiary division didn't make sense. Yes. Yeah. I think Weyland has had a lot of fun with their subtypes, and unsubstantiated is a very flavorful subtype. Weyland seems like exactly the corp to have a bunch of divisions that don't know the others exist. Yes. And specifically the flavor on like the board. So every other faction had an executive, which is one person who was meant to make big decisions about the corporation. And the board itself is a bunch of people that show up with either shadowy representations or digital representations, and they exist where everyone on the board doesn't know anyone on the board. So Weyland makes decisions as a mass group, but the idea is that there's no accountability, but also there's anonymity. So the controller of Weyland, besides Jack Weyland, who hasn't existed in a long time, he's disappeared into space. This is kind of the idea, that there are a lot of things that go on behind Weyland are totally anonymous, and you'll never actually be able to prove that it's there. Very, very cool. We looked a bit at the transactions. I think Plutus makes me way more excited for this. I think drawing a card is a good ability, but generally drawing a card is a good ability when attached to like spamming assets, which this doesn't really want to do. It doesn't have an obvious win condition until we saw Plutus, and Plutus technically is a way that you can use transactions to fast event, which is kind of cool. Understanding what the Weyland agendas are really important. There is enough transactions that you can play that give you enough value from this I think I did the math where like if you only have 9 transactions to fire this on a game where you draw half your deck, you're going to draw like 5 cards maybe. And I don't know if that's enough cards. So the fact that Plutus can double down and hopefully we have an agendas that give you money, right? Like Oaktown renovation, that's going. That sucks. Being able to advance this game 2 credits and draw a card is just incredible. Back in the day, we actually had corporate sales team, which is kind of what Offworld Office is, but it gave you 1 credit at the start of every turn, which would fire the once per turn clause. If you could fire this on the runner's turn and get money off of an operation, that'd be so good for you. And then you end up drawing 10 cards, which is obviously a bit too much, but like that's really good. And I'm assuming you're just going to use your credit and card advantage just to rush out. Like just get more ice, to get your seamlesses, do whatever you need to, and then just like have a bit of extra tempo at the same time. I think this is infinitely more interesting than building a better world. Because the first time per turn trigger, you have to actually care when that is. And I think Plutus makes that kind of cool. Weyland had a division that's literally just the mob. Yeah, well, family owned. They don't have to be the mob. You're gaining credits by triggering the ability and drawing things to spend the money on. Seems pretty good. Well, the thing is, like, if you draw too many transactions, you don't want to play 2 transactions a turn because you eat the Zwicky Group value. Another thing that doesn't seem great to me is like, if you score an Offworld Office, or like, I don't know what other agenda gives you money in the format anymore. You're drawing last click. Honestly, that kind of sucks. Like, that's not very good. The last, like, imagine you have 5 cards in hand, you mandatory draw, then you score an Offworld Office, you're up 7 cards in hand. Like, you can choose not to draw if I'm not mistaken, but like, that doesn't sound really good. So I think we really need an agenda that gets credits on the table or allows you to get credits at weirder ability points, right? Like, I don't think Divested Trust is it. Divested Trust is kind of cool though, because you can fire on the runner's turn. But like, maybe you play 5/3s and then you just like leverage threat 4 weirdly. I think 3-pointers don't make the most amount of sense with measured response because you get awkward breakpoints. As much as like, I do think Basalt Spire is kind of good, but this is technically a way to fire your ability on the runner's turn, and firing your ability on the runner's turn would be pretty good. I don't know, eating this Zwicky trigger doesn't sound like a great reason to avoid making a good play regardless, similar to not wildly hitting lat during every turn. But I think most good turns play around lat. I think the amount of turns where you don't fire lat to do something better are actually kind of vanishingly few. But the idea is that like if you put Greasing the Palm in your deck and it doesn't draw the card and you spent 3 influence on this, like you do look kind of silly. You feel a bit silly. Kind of. I don't know. I think this is going to look cooler. We've seen KPI will fire this. You're spending a lot of influence on HP things. This is the sort of ability I would have been surprised if it had 17 influence. And maybe because it does feel like Titan, which is just a bit of speed attached to like generically pushing yourself forward, as much as Titan is obviously pretty cracked. There's a new ice that helps advance to hopefully score with tempo. Maybe. I don't know if you need it. Maybe you do. Just having more money too means you can just Hollow Man super aggressively. So actually like the Hollow Man deep net like synergy deck with Plutus could be quite alive, which is pretty wild. This can set up Regenesis really well in Jinteki as well, because you can res this at the end of their turn, so the cards didn't enter archives. I think this card's probably pretty sick. I imagine this is really sick. Forfeiting an agenda also looks really weird because we're losing Hostile. So I don't know. Oh yeah, they go face up. Sorry, yeah, never mind. It's reveal and trash. I keep forgetting about this. Classically, FFG would say trash face up if I'm not mistaken. This is reveal and trash, and sometimes I don't read that right. But I'm pretty sure FFG said trash face up. Okay. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I'm finding Oracle text. No, I don't know. Yeah, cards go face up. Never mind. That's cool. And this is also really big. Mind you, this is announced later that card backs now are used in a way that's actually pretty sick. I've been a pretty big proponent of card backs being the full art of the card at a minimum, especially for stuff that you get from organized play, particularly because the back of the card is kind of useless because everyone who plays competitively at a minimum has to sleeve their cards with opaque sleeves. Now, a bunch of casual players play with clear sleeves or don't sleeve at all, so it's not really tenable, but when it comes to organized play, I think promo cards could do that. But instead, the folks at NSG came up with the idea like, hey, IDs don't have to be sleeved. So why don't we put narrative on the back of the IDs? And that is sick. This is something that we've seen before in like Arkham Horror. Arkham Horror specifically has little stories about all the investigators on the back. And so you get a little more flavor, which is really quite cool. I was wondering what they're going to do for this space on corporations, because the runners, you do just see the runner here and you see a bit more art. But now we're showing some Weyland cards. So here we see a Mauricio Herrera art that we haven't seen so far. And of course the Plutus, which we're expecting from Adam Doyle. Do we have a guess as what the top art is for? Weyland card for sure. My guess is it's not an ice. I don't think that's a bad guess, but like if this is a transaction, that would make sense. It looks like we're actually shaking the change out of someone, or obviously we're threatening them. So it could be bad publicity, but like clearly these cops that are dressed kind of like they're from Clockwork Orange are up to some no good. Agenda? Ooh, agenda actually makes a lot of sense. I think this could be like, holy shit. Like Hostile? Could this be Hostile? The art is sick too. Like I think you see the tower in the background if I'm not mistaken. Like it has a place. Yeah, corporate shakedown. Exactly. Yeah, it could be an agenda. I think like a corporate shakedown agenda would make a lot of sense. Doesn't have to be an agenda. I thought all the operations are accounted for. Oh, I don't know anything, however, about the sort of like checklist of what slots we're waiting for. I've not seen that conversation. If there's no operation slots, yeah, I would say 100% that this is an agenda. The Weyland Consortium is a vast, unconquerable labyrinth of corporations, subsidiary, micronations, and shell companies. Throughout, oh man, micronation would be a really good subtype. Throughout this maze are certain unlit corridors, locked, nameless offices, entire windowless floors of corporate headquarters that exude an aura of somebody else's problem. It is within these oubliettes that the Zwicky Group can be found, should that they allow it. It is from those darkened corners that their grasp extends silently, alighting whenever Weyland cannot seem to be seen to be. Well, shit, I read that bad, but you know the idea. Zwicky is the astronomer, yeah, the dark matter astronomer. I think when I originally saw this too, I was like, I did a Nuvum out of 10. I was like, this is so similar to Nuvum, and I don't know whether I like this more than Nuvum or less than Nuvum. And honestly, like Plutus is just such a game changer. This is why I want context. I don't want to talk about Zwicky on the stream and be like, hey, it doesn't seem good unless I know the context. Anyways, I'm going to stop saying that. You can see on the NRDB, Shylander, KPI, Measure, Response, Fly Swatter are all consecutive cards. Oh, very cool. Yeah. Very, very cool. You wrote this, I assume, because you seem to you seem like the type to write oubliette. Yeah. Yeah, Patrick is peak oubliette, that's for sure. It's a good ass word though. Oubliette is very, very good. Identity micronation. Finally, I'll get to play a Cyberpunk Cleveland. That is the only micronation in all of the what was known as the United States. Cleveland became a micronation. All right, let's go back to the blog and make sure we read every line. Out of the ashes, our Anarch in elevation from playtester James. We got an article. I don't think we're gonna read all of this. We're gonna just look at the cards. What was this article about? Oh, talking about the design of this card. It is worth reading. I love the design document. So like, because it's already 10:30, we're not gonna be able to read everything, but I would highly recommend this. This identity in testing was called was it Banner Girl? What was it? Was it Banner Girl? It was called Banner Girl, which is really funny and makes a lot of sense in context. So let's look at our first Anarch, and I believe the first card in the whole set. I'm still confused by how to properly describe Zwicky, but I suspect that's by design. Yes. Oubliette is my favorite Pokemon-like game. Is that an actual game? I think I know Oubliette specifically from Dead Souls or whatever it's called. It's a joke about game Oubliettes. Oh, okay. Sorry, that went over my head. Rio Phoenix Ono, Out of the Ashes. That is technically a card we've seen before. And welcome to the new Anarch box. I do want to shout out that the new Corp box also is a thing, and I like it. We did notice this before because we saw the top of poetry, I believe, in the marketing fan. But the Corp box does look different, and I think it looks better. I think it's cleaner. You get that Weyland crest that's separated. I think it looks nicer. For what it's worth, these are low DPI images. I have access to some high DPI images, and I do not think this looks anywhere near as good as the high DPI image does. It just starts to get blurry around these, but like it looks way better when you see the full version too. But this is quite good. Now on the runner side, there's some bigger differences if you ask me. Firstly, we get a pronoun box, which is like hella cool that that technology exists. Mind you, Phoenix has any all pronouns. Also, all the identities on the runner side had a huge link box that was like so much of the card, and it's so damn confusing because link functionally hasn't really mattered in many moons. It might at some point later, but link has basically been shrunk down and put underneath MU. I'm totally fine with that. Link needs to be there legally for a while. There are still trace cards in the standard format. There will be for a while. But yeah, that's a better change, and we just get more text box. I think there were some minor art things around the box, but otherwise we have a Gmod. The first time each turn a run becomes successful after a subroutine resolved during that run, gain a credit and the corp trashes a card from HQ. That card will be trashed face down, so you won't know what it is. Flavor text is light up, flame out, and burn it all down. We also have the text on the back. Now, any alls, specifically, I don't know how to interact with any all. It looks like from the article and also from the back box, Phoenix uses as many different pronouns all the time. I think that's probably what I ought to do, but here we have it. Phoenix waved goodbye as his parents enrolled him in Nebula's Protostar program for young performers. For the next decade, Nebula controlled Air education, diet, health, dress, and friends, modeling her to be the next big pop idol. This might be the Gachapon person from the last article, or the piece. Under pressure to succeed and the absolute control of NBN, Z went supernova. It ran away from everything, escaping to the slums of Kota Kalimantan. Yeah, that does make sense now. Now their only goal in life is to burn down everything. Nebula stands for before burning out himself. I put a gap there. It wasn't meant to be gap. She said any all as a challenge. Sorry? Give Seb one link. I agree, Aurora. It's unfortunately, it's not going to happen, I don't think. I'm going to be the worst role model when they pronouns and default to he, him, or they, them all the time. Yeah, I think we'll try and mix it up as much as we can. It doesn't need to be there. We could just have the known to CR saying the unspecified link equals 0. Yeah, I think that would be reasonable, but it doesn't cost much. Like technically you need to know your link, and I think it's better that players can run into Winchester and be like, oh, I do have link 0 or whatever. Like that's better than having to look up the CR, I guess, but it's fine. Okay, first Anarch. Art's great. This is from Ruiz. I like it. Obviously very colorful. This is probably the character we also see on Shred, which means that probably is a card that interacts with this, because there's not that many cards that can fire this ability. This ability says that you have to make a successful run. Jamie was talking on Daily Cast why it's worded like this. The first time a turn or run becomes successful. I don't know if that's clearly rules complete, but that's not a way that people talk about it. Generally, this is worded differently. It'd be like the first time there's a successful run, but the fact that the structure forced this to be the way it is. Rules team knows better than I do for sure. It's just notably, that's a strange sentence structure we've never seen before. MU also doesn't need to be there, but it's defined in the CR. It's still useful to have. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Hey, Eric, just dropped in to watch you discovering your special scoops. Pat, scoops are definitely some of the favorite stream moments. It did get me good. I had no idea. So that successful run that doesn't fire a sub doesn't eat your trigger. Oh, okay. That's weird. I didn't want to put anything on the runner IDs that would lead people to feel they were doing something incorrect. When we say any all, we don't want you to stress yourself out. Were people concerned that people would be stressed about it? So there's a couple things that fire this. The easiest one, and like, when is the last time an identity has been so strongly tied to one card? I feel like Lu and Imp is the closest we have to Phoenix. Because like if Phoenix doesn't open with Banhar, that's a huge difference. Right? Like if you have Banhar, then you're cooking because it's so easy to fire this ability. It's almost guaranteed. And this will fire just about once a turn. The problem is Banhar is expensive on cards and you're not Hoshiko. And I think this is going to be a recurring problem is both of the Anarchs are card draw heavy. They require a lot of card draw, but they don't provide card draw themselves. Mind you, basically every NSG, every Anarch NSG has ever printed besides Seb and now these two Anarchs have the word card draw on them. So yeah, we're going to feel the pain where you don't get the free card draw. So trying to figure out how to get card draw in your Phoenix deck is going to be pretty important. Correction, we don't want to stress anyone out except Rocky Tosh. Izzy, why? What is Ian up to? Reddit has always been some garbage takes about the new pronoun IDs. Yeah, well, you expect it. And like people are just kind of banishing down to the disappeared comments. It's really fun to log in up like, oh, no, this is going to be bad. It's like -7 deleted comment, -12 deleted comment. It's like, yeah, that's Reddit. That's how it would be sometimes, I guess. We don't go there that much no more. I don't think any all means you have to rotate. I used to do any all and I don't think anyone's rotated for me. The problem is like, I feel like if I don't rotate, I am basically saying this is what I think you are, or this is how I think you project, or this is what I think of you. And if you're clearly like, that seems to be not the point. I don't know. Like it makes it honestly, yeah, it does stress me out to some extent to be like, okay, I'll let you choose for me. And it's like, I feel like I don't want to have to make that choice, but maybe your choice was probably not to make the choice, right? I don't know. I think it's something I'll definitely figure out for sure. I think if people find a default for Phoenix that works, that'll be fine. Rotating through pronouns requires brain power that you can't spare during a game. You don't often say the runner's pronoun. For what it's worth for casting, we generally avoid using the pronouns of the cards. We more so use the pronouns of the players just so that it doesn't seem like you mess up and you're talking about one when you're meant to be mentioning the other, and then like you can like mispronoun someone. For some folks who use any all, they want you to make a choice. For some, they want you to rotate. But that's like them explicitly or implicitly saying that there is no wrong choice, right? So if I just go he, him all the time, I feel like, you know, a bit like a shithead, but that's apparently allowed. Like that's within the scope, right? People stressed out by people with multiple pronouns, and I'm glad they can't practice the referring to fictional runner rather than the real people. Yeah, that's true. That's fair. So be it. I also use any all pronouns, and I think people just use whatever they feel comfortable with me for, since I'm fine with anything. A single personally generally doesn't rotate through pronouns for me. Huh, interesting. I mean, Phoenix is a character and can't respond. My relationship with folks who use any all is based on my personal relationship with those people. Oh, cool. Very cool. My pronouns are interactive fiction. It's any all, not every all. So that requires consistency? Is that the difference there? Daria was recently on Daily Cast about, I don't know, an hour ago, and saying that this is going to basically say, not again, didn't want to play Hoshiko anymore, and said like, this is going to be the most fun, and compared this to B419 for Anarch. And I think that's kind of true. 17 influence we haven't mentioned, which is pretty hype. As much as I don't think there's anything obvious I want to spend that influence on, I don't think there's a lot of cards in the card pool that interact with this besides specifically Phoenix and, or sorry, Banner and Ban-Her. These both work. And like, mind you, Banner might actually be fine in a world where like 3 strength, 4 strength barriers come back because Cleaver doesn't exist. Like this actually might be kind of good. I do think Ashen might matter because yeah, you are the Ban-Her deck. So you probably want to play 2 Ashens and some other sort of consistency. I think the console slot's also very interesting. And while we obviously haven't seen any console or consoles, is that if you're Banner the deck, you probably want to be playing Anacom because this is one of the best things you can be playing when you're playing a Banner deck for sure. It's free influence for Ashen. What's also really interesting is say like turn 1, or it's like, okay, say turn 1 or turn 2, you get down your Banner and then you run R&D, you run HQ. Are they going to res? Because if they res, your Banner goes through it and then they have to trash a card from HQ and you gain a credit. Like this actually heavily disincentivizes people from resing. And obviously if they don't res stuff, they probably can't win the game. I do think that is actually one of my big concerns by playing this identity is that if people play ice slice strategies and are just playing like say asset spam, and I'm concerned that asset spam is going to be very, very good and very viable in the upcoming future. How bad is Phoenix, right? Like if you play against a Thule deck with 3 ice, that's the reason where like Hoshiko is still very consistent, but Phoenix might not fire that often. And that scares me. I do think as a player, I'm generally pretty averse to situations in which I find myself in a place I feel powerless. And that is the one concern I have about Phoenix is how much ices are going to be and how consistently can you fire it. Totally worth noting that some ice just has subroutines that don't matter, that fire all the time. They mentioned in the article, specifically in System Gateway, like you have White Space, you have Tithe. You can let a lot of subroutines fire, like take 2 net damage on a Karuna if it's going to get a credit and trash a card from HQ. Like that can be reasonable. There's a lot of stuff that's just going to fire. That's kind of cool. And the Run Ice are still useful against you. They are, but there's like a lot of decks we've seen competitively that's like, well, Near Earth Hub rotates, but it's Near Earth Hub with 3 ice. And some of them don't end the run. Like you can go through a Sarevna, you can go through a Virtual Service Agent, but you can't go through a Ping. So it's weird. I mean, all runners don't need to use like half their cards against Ice Light Corpse. Yeah, but when your ID text box doesn't matter, that feels bad, right? What Lucas said? I think I missed it. Oh, there you go. If they do that, I think the rest of your deck will punish it. Chestushka and Stargate, yeah. I think I accidentally got like a soft confirmation that there might just be sabotage in the set. And like Phoenix does want to work well with sabotage because if they're trashing cards from HQ, that's actually a really good reason to play cards like Coupulation. Because running HQ when they throw out their worst cards means that your HQ multi-access and coupulating taking cards out of HQ is even better for you. Playing a Chestushka, playing Sabotage and forcing them to trash cards, again, they have less options in hand. That does snowball in a really, really, really good way. And that's kind of cool. But I do want my ID text to matter in every game. I'm just not sure how often it's going to be a problem. I imagine more so than not, it's not going to be a problem. But I do think having this ability that on every turn you can force the corporation to trash a card from their hand is pretty messed up. It is genuinely very messed up, right? Like this reminds me so much of Alice, and a problem with Alice is not only 50 card deck size, it's like they ice up archives. If they put a good ice on archives, like you're not ban-harring archives because that doesn't make sense. If it costs you 3 credits to run archives, your ability kind of stinks. As much as a lot of the Alice decks you see will play Chestushka, they will play HQ pressure. And this is Alice, but on every server. Once per turn. With 17 influence, and it gives you credits. Like, I think this looks hella fun. I don't know, I'm kind of in on this. I was a bit down on it, but then like, I think the way that Daria framed it, I'm like, yeah, I kind of like that. Kind of like it. Shout out to Virtuoso. Yeah, you need card draw though, and that's going to be a hard thing to deal with. I imagine you do want to run every turn, so you can also play, you know what has card draw in it? That chicken delivery card? Like, there's some weird things you can do with it. 17 to justify playing Virtuoso. Oh no. Pressures all centrals into HQ. Yeah, that can be cool. The HQ pressure could make a fair bit of sense in this deck for sure. I think Dockland's Pass makes sense in this deck, let alone obviously you playing System Update Elevation, or sorry, Elevation System Gateway. Chicken delivery card? Yeah, you know the one. What's it called? Side hustle? And 70 influence to fit 8 copies of Nuka. Yeah, I do think you want a Nuka-like effect for sure. Like, you're going to run every turn. This technically draws a card. Maybe fine. Maybe okay. Side job, yeah, side hustle. I don't know. The more I think about this, the more I like it. Even if it's not like competitive tier 1, it looks hella fun. And I think that is the best thing that you can get. Like if Hoshiko is still just a more consistent disruptive Anarch, if you want to build it that way, maybe that's the case, but this looks great. This looks really, really good. Verbal plasticity. Yeah, verbal is also probably fine. We'll see how the meta looks like. Having a job isn't very punk rock IMO. Yeah, you're not wrong about that. But like, it depends how you do it. Like, okay, you don't think it's punk rock? You don't think it's punk rock? It's pretty punk rock. I think it's cool. Yeah, I don't know. This is cool. I'm into this. 4 knives, 17 influence. Praxis is punk. Praxis is pretty punk. That's the worst punk voice I've ever heard. It wasn't a punk voice. You think that was my punk voice? You know I was in a ska band. Not a job, a hustle, a grind set. Yeah. I don't know. I like this a lot. I do like this a lot. I do think we need to see 1 or 2 cards that can fire this consistently. I'm worried that it's just like Banner the deck. If it is just Banhar the deck, it's like, you know, Lou 3 imps, open imp. Like sometimes you won't. Why wasn't day job a quadruple? In a world where everyone wants to be an influencer and self-made, having a 9 to 5 isn't very punk rock. Yeah. Also, wait, Andre lore. I lived in the suburbs. I played the saxophone, put it together. Banhar the deck is every deck. Yeah, but there's a difference between a deck that wants Banhar and a deck that is Banhar, I think. Yeah, I was. I'm like a classically trained musician. That happens. We didn't do much. We weren't very good, but like I was a teenager at some point. Sax on stream. I haven't played sax since high school. So like classically I'm trained in the piano. I went to the Royal Conservatory. I did the Royal Conservatory. I can play guitar okay enough. I haven't played it in a long time. I have an accordion over there that we never brought out on stream for no good reason. We probably should have by now. But I played the saxophone in high school. I played alto for 1 year and then tenor for 3 years. I'm like fine. I haven't played the saxophone in many moons since high school. So I probably don't know what I'm doing anymore. Serenade the stream, please. Maddie is fast asleep. Can't do it. Accordion stream. The accordion is so loud. It's so hard to play it in an apartment. Everyone hears it. Play the accordion you want to hear in the world. Yeah, it's a cultural thing, mind you. Slovenians, we play accordions. It's kind of how it goes. I think that's the Gandhi quote. The point that asks you to play Careless Whisper. Oh man. Anyways, that's Phoenix. I think Phoenix is sick. I think this is really cool. Very, very exciting. It's gonna be a very fun Anarch. Again, this is the sort of thing where like you have to assume there's more ways to make this fire if you just own Elevation Gateway, because not having Banhar, not having Banner makes Phoenix pretty silly. So I'm assuming we're gonna see ways to make this fire. Until then, I don't know. Seems really fun. I'm into it. Accordion, the cultural touchstone of many countries. Oh, for sure, for sure. Andre Scasho, Montreal Cons. Oh my god. Oh my god. All right. You've seen Buddha on the Holo stream. We got a new narrative. This is from Shoeflower. This is from Aaron. Content warning. The story contains content relating to abuse and food restriction. Do they have a guitar console? There's a chance. There's a big chance. This is the thing. It's like, I don't know if we're expecting 2 consoles. I don't know if the consoles are meant to overlap and hit both IDs. I don't think that was the case in system update. So whether we're going to get a console that makes sense for one or the other or both, we'll find out. Was fully prepared for you to trash? No, like, seems fun. It might not be first order optimal competitive, but it seems hella fun. And I could see it being like a playstyle that people enjoy. I also could see a playstyle that people get really upset about, right? Like Sabotage is not super interactive. Phoenix is much more interactive. Like you have to run for it to matter. Getting the credit is like really, really kind of sick on top of it. But you have to run. So it feels like there's ways to interact around it. But the early game where there's a Banhar down and it's like run R&D, are you going to res? Then I lose a card from your hand. Like it does feel like some sort of control crim, but with an Anarch thing. There were 0 consoles in SC21. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. So split between the IDs. I'm low-key worried about Phoenix if Banhar ever does get hit with a ban. Yeah, Banhar getting hit with a ban at some point. I think Banhar is a really cool card. And mind you, there's actually a lot of anti-Banhar. There's Banhar hate in this set, it seems. Dang, not all the consoles I thought were in SC21 are in Ashes. Yeah, wild. I think Ashes actually has a lot of consoles. Does Ashes has more consoles than I think it does? It has Anacom. Does it have another shape? Yeah, it has like a shit ton of consoles. It has 6 consoles. Yeah. The deck building implications of a guitar console. Yeah, Ashes had 2 per. Ashes has some like very good consoles. It also has super quarter. So yeah, Ashes has a lot. All right, this one's a bit shorter. I'm a big fan of Aaron's stories as well. We're gonna read it. Why? Well, because there was no reason. Yeah, right. No reason. Hot take. Dario, I'll let you go. I feel like super corridor will be good in elevation. Okay. Okay. I don't. You can explain. I I like hot takes, mind you. If they turn out to be wrong, it's like nobody cares. But if they turn out to be right, it's really cool. I think Dario just said no. I'm not sure. Statements of you added restream bot, Ian, so you look pretty silly. It's definitely a take. I'm down for the takes. All right, here we go. Content warning, if you want to step out, content relating to abuse and food restriction, I imagine this will be like 6 minutes to read. I'm very bad at telling time. Siddhartha Gautama stepped out onto stage to a round of thunderous applause. For those who don't know, Siddhartha Gautama is the name of the Buddha who created Buddhism. I have read the book Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha when I was in high school. I did a report in which I compared and contrasted it to Fahrenheit 451. I think it was a riveting. I got good marks. And since then, I have become a much simpler boy. He bowed graciously at the audience members before taking his seat at the round table. Sitting clockwise from him was Confucius, the former Pope John Paul II, Viv Sotol of the Starlight Crusade, what the fuck, that's in here, sick, and finally, Fat Jean Baptiste. I do not know how to say this, to pronounce exactly, but this is John the Baptist. Welcome to all of Andre's Catholic upsites. The John the Baptist, it was the person who baptized Jesus in the river. This one of the schools I went to. So I always went to Catholic schools, and one of the schools I went to was John the Baptist, St. John's. He is a saint. This is a Vietnamese spelling of the same name, and yeah, that's that. JP2 was the Pope when I was also in elementary school. He was pretty much liked, if you obviously like the papacy. He spoke a lot of languages. He was pretty hip with the kids. People really did like JP2 from my memory of being a kid. I don't know if he was shittier than that. And then Confucius from Confucianism. He's a well-respected Pope. Yeah, people like that Pope. That was generally considered a good Pope. Starlight Crusade, mind you, this is the religion that showed up in like the lunar cycle, I want to give or take, in FFG reign. I loved it. Almost all the cards that have to do with the Starlight Crusade are some of my favorite Netrunner cards. Even Starlight Crusade funding, which is just such a wild card. I don't know if the name Viv Sotol has actually showed up on flavor text. I don't think that's a new name. Wait, no. Oh, that won't work. So if we look at Starlight Crusade funding or like Citadel Sanctuary, I like to say traditional values. They do wear crosses, which is pretty wild. Like it does seem like it's a Christian related thing. I like to say traditional values for a modern time: war in space and life made by human hands, machines smart enough to ask if they have souls. Religion is as important and relevant now as it is at any time in human history. We must rise to meet the new challenges, and we must have faith. Juan Bautista. Bautista. I say it that many syllables. Thank you, Aurora. Did your essay start? It was a pleasure to escape. So though this Siddhartha have an H? Yes, that's how it is spelled. Oh, should it be spelled like that? Siddhartha. I think it is. But that might be a localization. Yeah, it does have an H in it. Classically. Spin cycle, even older than lunar. Right on. Some luck that the guy from Confucianism happened to be named Confucius. It's weird how that happens. Anyways, sorry. We were sitting down in a really weird opening where it's a bunch of religious figures sitting down together. And let's get back to that world. Wow, the Buddha? How did you manage that? Asked the host and moderator, Nip Kovacs. John smiled, soaking up the audience's awe like a leech. Well, Nip, it was quite simple. Do you remember that ancient Buddhist temple that was discovered underneath Kushinagar? Of course, its discovery dominated the headlines for a full week. Nip nodded along eagerly. Meanwhile, NBN editors spliced in 3D footage of the temple's discovery into the feed. Gautama could see the hollows of the archaeologists unearthing digital ground next to himself on the playback monitor. Well, there were several relics in there that we have a good cause to believe belonged to old Sid here. Thanks to the low acidity levels of the soil and nearly hermetic seal on the relic chamber itself, we were able to find trace amounts of surviving genetic material. That brought us most of the way. But there were still gaps in the DNA. To fill those gaps, we used genetic samples from confirmed descendants of Buddha, including, I reveal here today, myself. He allowed an awed murmur to pass through the audience. Finally, we've been able to reconstruct a DNA profile of Buddha with a 99.5% confidence. Gautama smiled blandly throughout this explanation of his life. Gautama had no proof any of this was false. Still, he doubted. It had all happened before he had been created, obviously. But what he remembered of his infancy was dull gardens where he wasn't allowed to climb or play. When he was able to read, it transitioned to long, grueling hours of study. For breaks, he was allowed to meditate, nothing else. Buddha, Buddha, Buddha had been drilled into him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's been a while since I've read the Siddhartha story, obviously high school. But if I'm not mistaken, like a big part of Siddhartha's story was sitting under a tree for like a really long time doing not a lot of physical activity. People would, call it meditation. Truly amazing. Well, it looks like that's the whole panel assembled. Let's have round one of the discussions begin. The hosts clapped their hands. Okay, Buddha, Confucius, JP2, you've all been asleep for years, so discussions have somewhat changed from your times. I'll explain the rules for you, even though I'm sure everyone in our audience already knows. Gautama and all the other clones had been briefed extensively on the rules of this discussion beforehand. After his handlers felt he had a suitable strong grasp on the foundations of Buddhist theology, they had transitioned the lessons from philosophy to rhetoric, apologetics, and acting. First, we're going to open with a few fun icebreaker games. Because it's Netrunner. This has been scientifically proven to enhance discussion quality. We'll start with a fun game of taste testing. A hidden compartment on the round table opened in front of each guest, and 3 unlabeled cans each rose to the tabletop. Gautama and Confucius gave small starts with practiced skill, and the audience laughed. John, Paul, and Viv both feigned interest and curiosity, lifting the cans, touching and examining the tables for any more tricks. Nip continued. We have 3 unlabeled cans of diesel trademark in front of each of you. Your game is to guess what flavor each can is. Each correct guess here will count you as a point to your debate total, so taste carefully. Gautama was the first to go. First, he raised the solid gray can with an experimental air. He tried to drink from it without popping the tab first, and the audience laughed again. Nip motioned for a stagehand to show him how to open the can. Confucius leaned over to share in the observation. The can opened with a sharp metal scraping and the hiss of carbonization. Gautama attempted to peer into the can to a few more giggles, but he got the impression that his slapstick was growing a touch stale. He raised the can to his lips and took a sip. This gives me like vibes of when Pat is over here and I have to teach him how to use a computer again. It's funny though. Back in the facility, food had been the first level of punishment. Incorrect answers on religion tests cost a meal. Stuttering, stumbling over words, or using ums or ahs cost drinks. Gautama had once flunked a test so badly he had to be put on an IV drip, just so he would get some nutrients. The last month, as they'd been prepping for the show, his handlers had transitioned him and other Buddhas from protein blocks to real human food. Gautama had shat himself several times as his stomach adjusted to the more complex fats and sugars. Bathroom breaks had been the next level of punishment. He pulled a face as the liquid touched his tongue, the first authentic reaction he displayed. It tasted like the stomach acid of a child who's been stranded in a candy store overnight, just like every other can of diesel Gautama had had. The acidity and sweetness overpowered any attempt at flavors, so Gautama took a stab in the dark. Oh, that's foul. Is it the urine of a horse? Nip's smile stretched wide enough that it looked painful. Come on now, is it that bad? There was an edge in their voice that said, quit playing the fool. Gautama got the message. Perhaps it's goji berry. This elicited a more genuine laughter from the host and audience. Incorrect, that's strawberry. I guess they didn't have those in ancient times, eh? Better luck with the next one. Now drink. The fact that we're reading a piece about the Pope enjoying flavors of diesel and, a clone of Buddha shitting himself was not what I expected today. Gautama and Confucius didn't get a single drink flavor correct, but that didn't seem to diminish anyone's enjoyment. John, Paul, and Viv both got one correct each, blueberry and kiwi, respectively. John got all 3 right. He wouldn't even have needed the stagehand's voice in his ear feeding him answers. From what Gautama had seen of the man, he lived off the stuff. There was probably an IV drip of diesel in his office. John had visited the Gautama and the other clones often over the course of their development. Gautama knew he should have hated him. That he was the brain, if you call him that, behind the operation. But the reason for all the suffering was just to please this man's ego. But to Gautama, he'd always seemed like a dumb baby. It was the handlers who listened to John's infantile tantrums and ranting that drove Gautama mad. They clearly had the same opinion of John as Gautama. He'd heard their whispers, seen their eye rolls. Why are you listening to this idiot? Aren't you adults? Aren't you scientists? Don't you know better? But no. Anytime Gautama had tried to curry favor with his handlers by mocking John, they had whipped him with reeds. A fittingly base and simple punishment. Another A spotted? When the game had finished and the host had plugged all the new flavors of Diesel to the audience, they turned back to the round table. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? Don't you feel ready to get your intellectual juices flowing? Let's get round 2 started with some actual conversation. The lighting, which had been painfully bright, dimmed to create a more intimate atmosphere. Here's the rules for the discussion rounds. Whenever someone makes a good point, as decided by me, the moderator, they get 1 debate point. You can also be awarded points for pointing out logical fallacies in another debater's points, in which case they lose their debate point and you gain it. At the end, whoever has the most debate points wins the debate. All the clones nodded in understanding. This had already been explained to them in their training. Let's begin. Our first question is, what are humanitarian obligations of people, both real and corporate, in the case of natural disasters? Notably, natural disasters, I believe, did this come up in one of the other articles? I think it did it? I'm not sure if this is a thing that's actually come up before. If it's repeated, I think it actually matters. In terms of like what we expect to see. This is where the clones' real work began. Each of them walked the tightrope of trying legitimately to discuss a religion while pandering to John. They had to make it believable for the viewers, for the practitioners, but comprehensible to John, which was arguably more difficult. He was a capricious god at the best of times. He abhorred sycophants, but despised anyone who disagreed with him. The trick was to guess his opinion before he knew it, so that he could agree with you. Oh, various instructors had pretended to be John for practice, with all of the cams in the facility turned off. But even their mawkish impersonations had vastly undersold how mean and stupid this man was. How utterly self-absorbed and narcissistic he was. Gautama kept a count in his head of how many people could speak before John had to jump in. The number never got higher than 5. Gautama had a good formula for predicting John's position on any given issue. Simply take the stupidest, cruelest option that let John personally benefit, and that would be his choice. By the end of the first round, they all agreed that during natural disasters, corporations, even humanitarian ones, first duties were to their owners and shareholders, and had to prioritize the protection of their assets over aid. The fact that, like, obviously all the religious entities seem to be controlled by the same entity, and this is what they're, spouting is, bleak. Now let's get to the real heart of the matter. Do clones have souls? What does your religion say? Buddha, we'll start with you. Gautama smiled at the camera. Buddhism teaches us that our souls are immortal. Through the cycle of samsara, new bodies are given old souls, each according to their karma. Souls can only be reborn into natural beings, just as there is no chance of being reincarnated as a pad or a biroid. There is no possibility of being reborn as a clone. 1 point for Buddha. Ah, but you are begging the question here, chimed in John. If there is a finite number of souls, how does humanity's population keep growing? Points stolen by John. You must remember that all living beings have souls, not just humans. That the explosive boom in humanity has coincided with mass extinctions across Earth is not surprising. There is a greater need for human souls than animal souls, so many of those souls trapped in suffering of animals are now in people. Another point for Buddha. Could not the souls for clones come from the souls of these lesser beings? Asked Confucius. The cycle of samsara is a cycle of nature. It existed before any technology. Clones, by their very definition, are unnatural. They are created beings like bioroids. Just as we cannot choose where we are placed in that cycle, we cannot add beings to it, Gautama replied. John hadn't spoken recently enough. Buddha makes a great point here. Clones cannot be people. In many cases, they aren't even human. Viv popped in. But clones have to be at least somewhat human and have value. John turned to glare at her, but she continued. Otherwise, this whole debate is moot. Nip tried to steer the conversation away. Confucius, what are your... No, interrupted John. What do you mean, Viv? Gautama caught the eye of John Paul and recognized it in the growing panic that was mirrored in his own. Well, we're all prominent historical figures, or at least we're clones of them. So if we don't have the soul, the humanity of those figures, then what's the point of this discussion? Gautama could see where she was coming from. She wanted to make this debate illegitimate. but she was going about it all wrong. I don't think it's necessary for clones to have souls in order to, he began, desperate to intervene. Shut up, John cut Gautama off. No, you don't have souls because I made you. I didn't add souls in the recipe for you. There is no step in the clone process for souls. All I meant was, you don't decide what you mean, I do. Don't you get it? You're my experiment. That means you do what I want you to do. Nip was motioning to their producers to cut the feed. John noticed. Don't cut me off. He stood up and strode towards the camera, still shouting. Gautama knew where they were in for a long night when they got back to Aoko. Can't believe that Gautama doesn't know about soul sticks with Rube. Yeah, it's interesting that both stories reference like souls. The idea of like, you know, a clone having a soul or a Byroad having a soul is something we haven't, like, the soul aspect hasn't been focused on, obviously, through the history of Netrunner, but other stuff. So it seems like it's not obvious whether John is the CEO of Aoko, whether he's forward facing at Aoko, or also whether he is a clone. Honestly, I can't tell. And this is Aoko, which I've heard some really good names for this. Jinteki. Tom called this personal ovulation, which is also very funny. And the ID flavor text will reference crashes of clones. Yeah. So the gold standard in clones, the art here, if you didn't have the red box, you'd guess is an NBN card, but there's these little red references. And these capsules, if you can tell, have people in them. And just to jump over here, which kind of like, you know, we'll come back. This is a capsule with a person in it. And that sort of red glow makes you have an understanding of what's going on here. These are people being grown in vats the way that clones tend to be. Notably, too, here, there's two cards shouted out. We don't know who this is. There's a chance that these two people are clones. This could be John, Fat John Bautista, the CEO. Okay, so we know it's the CEO. It says right there. We should probably just read that. Whether these are the same person and there's multiple clones of this, you would assume. But John Bautista, we're assuming is a clone? We're not 100% sure. Personal ovulation, I'm never learning the name here. Yeah, I think Tom shouted that out on the live stream, which is really funny. Yeah, it says in the back of the card that he's a CEO. Yeah, that makes sense. Lieutenant Commander Data did the same kind of thing on Holodeck with his favorite scientists, and it came off a lot better. Oh, they brought all the scientists back? Like cloned all the famous scientists? I've peeked, to be honest. This is Aoko's, one of the Jinteki IDs. There's two of them. 4515, Identity Division. Okay. Whenever you do damage or trash one or more cards from HQ, place one power counter on this identity. So do damage or trash cards from HQ, get a power counter. When your turn begins, you may remove 2 power counters to look at the top 3 cards of R&D, trash one of those cards and add the rest to HQ. So you every once in a while, maybe every turn, every other turn, you draw 2 cards and then you mandatory draw. You have to trash one of those cards. So sometimes that helps you, sometimes that hurts you. But you need to be trashing cards from HQ or doing damage. There's a cube progression of 1, 2, 3 in the text box. There is a cube progression of 1, 2, 3. I'm guessing the lower character is Gautama. I don't know. Maybe. I don't. That's classically like, I don't know. Maybe that is just a normal version, but like, I don't think Buddha is known for having hair. What did Gautama Siddhartha look like? I'm not going to spell that right. People are saying that's a CEO. I think it's a CEO. Oh, okay. There's depictions of Buddha with hair. Maybe. Oh, actually, mostly pictures of Gautama with hair. So it could be, yeah. Why do I think Buddha doesn't have hair? Because I think I'm just like Buddha statues, which are different. Yeah, some Buddhas don't have hair. Some do. The more you know. Yeah, I think it's a CEO. Like, those are really nice robes. And this person looked like they're relaxed, for sure. I think an even better progression in 1, 1, 2, 3 is the beginning of a Fibonacci sequence. Kind of cool. Okay, I'll be honest. Jinteki identities are really hard to make. They're very confusing. It's not obvious what direction you want to go in Jinteki. And I think Jinteki has had the faction that usually has some of the stranger identities. So I think more often than not, more commonly than other factions, there's Jinteki identities that don't land, that all try to do something that are kind of confused and kind of convoluted. Yeah, the laughing Buddha, that's often the bald one, yeah. This is one that like really confuses me. How to use this exactly, right? Whenever you do damage, okay. So if you're just doing consistent damage, you can just get power counters. That means you can draw cards. So does that mean that you're playing asset spam and then you're using your assets that do damage to draw more cards and you're just asset spamming the runner out and you're just getting like 3 card draw every other turn, which means you can put more assets on the table so that you can do like Bladderwort stuff. Mind you, Cohort gets shouted out. Cohort is really good. Other asset spam type stuff. But the idea is that this can draw 2 cards because you trash a card so you get a power counter and then you can do the start of turn trigger. The fact that this ID ability actually doesn't exactly care about power counter timing when it comes to like the sort of that rule where it has to see the checkpoint rule, that technically works, but there's a lot of cards that work. Mind you, Anemone works naturally. The fact that you can res this, discard a card, then do net damage gives you 2 power counters guaranteed. And then anything that does a single net damage technically draws you a card. Its net damage is card because you need 2 net damage functionally and 2 different sources to draw 2 cards. Now it is destructive because it trashes a card, and that means you're going through 4 cards that start a turn trigger, which is not incredibly sustainable. But it looks like this just wants to acid spam the heck out. I don't know. This one seems like it's not very obvious what it wants you to do. I don't get the lore on it. This one doesn't spark joy in me. It seems like a lot of work to do a strange thing that is definitely flexible, but like it's not pushing me in any direction that I feel really strongly about. I think if this is straight gas, it's like straight gas because we're acid spamming or we're just like constantly doing damage. I don't know if you can just take Jinteki and say you're drawing 2 cards every once in a while and that's good enough for you. Thanks for reading the story. Of course, Bagels. Thanks for listening. I think this idea will discard cards to pay for stuff. I shouldn't be surprised if discard to do X will show up. We already have a couple, mind you. Like we have Hansei Review, we have Anoetic Void. We have a lot of ways we can discard cards that are like very good cards on their own. But like, what does this meant? What does this want you to do? I have seen this for a while and I keep thinking about it and there's like no part of this that grabs me. It just seems like a lot of really strange stuff to put on an identity so you can draw 2 cards. Plutus synergy? Yeah, it works with Plutus. As much as like how many Hansei actually works with this and Plutus, which is kind of cool. Feels like you could do a Loud-esque style deck. Well, Moonpool kind of works because you trash cards. Regenesis doesn't work. But that's what worries me. It's like, I feel like the only sub archetype that this seems really, really good in is like damage assets, which is like hella cursed, like something I don't want to play against ever. I think you can mostly transfer Loud into this idea and it looks very good. The fact that it's assets that's fueled by misery, like its fuel is misery, and then it uses that to spam out assets, makes me unhappy when I think about it. I think that damage text is less relevant. I don't think so. I don't know. There's a lot of words on this. And I just feel like it's not obvious what it wants you to do. Yeah, this one did not spark joy in me. I feel like the only thing that this is going to do is going to be pretty miserable. Sice Untaian fires, does it get 3 or 6 counters? It gets 3 counters every instance. It's every instance. Banhar hate, yes. I found this to be so effing funny that the first identity put out is like, this is Banhar, the identity. And then the second identity was like, by the way, don't play Banhar because it's going to ruin you. Because like if you play Banhar and you run into an ice that has 3 subroutines, they get 3 power counters. Feels unsustainable. Feels really bad. Feels like your combo idea, trash the ta, not combo, dig for your combo. I just don't know what the combo is. I don't think there's a combo. So I just not gonna get you 6 counters if you hit the call type. Yeah, you can, but also you'll probably just flatline someone. This feels like misery. I don't think this is a generalist ID. I think for this to be good, you have to be constantly doing the sort of stuff that I don't enjoy. Like, it's like, oh, do you know what works well with this? Kakurenbo. It's like, what? I thought we were going to destroy this card. I thought we didn't want this card to exist. Do you know what works well with this? Bird Barbecue. Like every card that I think is just absolutely misery or grinder works really well with this identity ability, right? It's like, oh, do you want to play Bladderwort? Yeah, we got you. We got you. Do we want to play Hostile Architecture? Yeah, we got you. We got you. We got you. Like it's literally everything that I don't like in one identity. What's wrong with Kakurenbo out of IG? Memory. I think fundamentally this violates null signal games is like the way that they think about the game. The text of this does not require you to show every card in archives to your opponent before you play it. I think it's kind that you do. But secondly, this becomes a memory game. So say that I have like 15 cards in there and then I add one and then remove one. It's up to you to do the backwards like note taking to figure out which 14 cards are left in there. It just doesn't line up with null signal games note taking, lack of like non-requirement for memory being like a skill or like results related gate. I just don't like it. I don't like any of it. I do love your misery as much as I appreciate your happiness. Yeah, no, it's fine. Like it's good that like getting a reaction out of a card is good. And like, it's not going to be for me, but I feel like I'm not be mad if Alco. I don't think it's, for what it's worth, I don't think it's like busted good in this ability. Like Kakurenbo is like marginally better, to me, it's like saying, oh, I'm going to play this like marginally playable card in Hyobu just so Hyobu gets a credit. Like, I don't think it's a really big deal to get 1 power counter on this. Technically, you can get more power counters on this, though. You can Kakarembo to get 2 cards. Yeah, maybe that's something. 2 power counters. Luckily, Kakarembo is bad enough. No, exactly. Yeah, Kakarembo is probably bad enough. But I don't know. To be fair, the Generalist J identity was from Mumbet Cycle. The last Generalist Jinteki. Yeah, and I think I wanted that. I really wanted to get Generalist Jinteki. I just wanted Polana. I'm simple. I just wanted like a playable. I think like Polana, unfortunately, is Restoring Humanity, and that's fine. Like you can just play Restoring Humanity and pretend it's Polana. It'll be okay. This is an ID that makes YDL especially good as a non-curse thing. Yeah. It also does make YDL good, potentially. I don't know if you play that. I guess we lose Celebrity Gift at the same time. Isn't this anti-grinder because the corp mills too fast, or do they just play a bigger deck? Well, I think they just put more assets on the table. And then you run Archives and it's like Regenesis Fuji. But if you run Archives to Fuji, you die because there's a Reaper function. It's a hostile architecture. It's a Bladderwort, right? I don't know. And if you don't run Archives, they just Regenesis aggressively. It's hard to tell. I can't tell. But I honestly look at this. I can't tell what it wants me to do. Some people would find that exciting. But all the things that when I like pursue one of these paths, it comes into like, oh, that's not the part of Jinteki I enjoy. You don't have to use the counters. No, it's optional. You may remove the counters. You don't have to. So you're not going to like mill yourself, but like you're going to mill yourself if you want to use your ability to some extent. Like it'll be like op-like. Throw the transactions with Akko and use it with Plutus. Yeah, or you can just throw them out with the Plutus so that you get the counters. Like I imagine you want to just res Plutus to get the counters. Epiphany at home. Here's when Jinteki cards will be revealed with this, since we have seen very shown so far. Yeah, we've seen very few cards for what it's worth. Like most factions, we have only seen like 1 card. We haven't seen any Jinteki cards. The only corps that want to draw 3 cards a turn enough to make their idea are the ones that play horizontally. Exactly. Yeah. Like that's what I see. I don't see how this is not just like full assets all the time. Can you only do this ability once per starter turn? Yes. Yeah. Any when your turn ability, you can only fire once unless it says otherwise. So you can't draw your whole deck if you get like 17 power counters on this. You can only always draw 2. The fact that you also don't at the top of your deck is really funny. It's like kind of Epiphany. You look at 3, but you end up trashing and drawing all of them is like just great. But yeah, you're going to be drawing 3 cards a turn playing Acid Spam. 2x cohort is wild with this. Yeah, 2x cohort is absurdly big with this, but like they should trash your cohorts for sure. You have to ice your cohorts. Yeah, 2x cohort is basically draw 1, 2, 3, 4. You draw like 7 cards start a turn or something. I didn't do the math. It's like probably 6. I don't know. If anyone's really excited about this, I think so. Like it has a lot of text. I think there's a lot of like possibility space. I just don't like any of that possibility space. I don't think. I can't tell how good it's going to be because obviously you need to see more cards, but like this one I did not care for. I like the story a lot. I did like the story a fair bit. You can any 5/3s with 2x cohort. Oh, that's also a cool thing with cohort is that you can trash a card into bin with this. And it's good that cohort makes sense because that's like a thematic link. So the idea also is like if you fire the Oko ability first, there will be a face down card in Archives, which means cohort will always have something to flip. That's kind of neat. Front company, yeah. Steven, you're talking, right? Like this is the sort of deck that this like pushes you to build, which like not for me. I'm out. Like I don't want to play it. But yeah, front company, that sort of thing. Because running Archives, you want to protect Archives, so why not protect Archives? We'll see how spiky the ice is. For what it's worth, we still have some pretty good ice. What do you think of the new Jinteki ID? We're gonna get there. In fact, very soon. From Conrad Banknote Cluck and Patrick Sklar, introducing the new card frames. So this article's sick, talks about the new card frames. There's some other card frame stuff they weren't able to show in this article, like the new agenda boxes, agenda arts. The new frames for agendas gets to show more of the art, which is a really, really cool thing. I like that heck of a lot. And then when it comes to the card backs and the pronouns and just the changes overall are fantastic. So we see 2 cards here. First one, Topan. Shit, Topan is sick. Armas leader, they, them pronoun, identity natural. Once per turn arrow is the sickest technology Null Single Games has come up with in a while. That is just so good. There's always been this problem where the once per turn trigger is led at the bottom and you get so excited and you read the whole op ability box because it's a lot of words and then you're like, oh, that's amazing. And then the last sentence is uses ability only once per turn. Oh my God, so good to get that in the top. 10 out of 10 on its own. Topan, huge. Uses ability once per turn arrow. Sick. Really, really good. I'm surprised nobody mentioned that on Daily Cast. Me too. Chat was in love with it. I am too. Spend a click to install a card from your grip, paying 2 credits less. fewer. When you install this card, suffer immediate damage, whatever it takes for us to survive. Standard 4515. This art is by Zefania. Zefania has done a couple pieces of art for NSG, including things like Wake Implant, which is one of my favorite arts in the game. And then a bunch of art from back in the day from FFG, including things like Fast Track, which is also one of my favorite arts. And a lot of the Zefania arts have this like very good glow effect on people. I think Wake Implant also has a very like naturalistic glow look off of the window and everything. I just like Zefania's art a heck of a lot. And whoever decided to ask Zefania to draw IDs, sick, really, really good. I think Zefania nailed it. I'm hoping to see more, but like very good artist for this, as much as all the IDs have been fantastic, but we've never seen Zefania do an ID, and that's a great choice. This character looks fantastic. The jacket is sick. You got a bit of a sword there. It's hard to tell because the resolution is kind of ass on the NSG website intentionally, but to see what's on the screen, we'll be able to tell in the 600 DPI. Grappling Hook is great. Garrote is good. What other Zefanias are there? There's some really good Zefanias. Zefania, I think, did like 8 cards. They have a good achievable look for cosplay competition. Yeah, like I think I could do this. Fuck, finding that jacket is gonna be really hard. The headband probably has symbols that are more culturally relevant that I'm not aware of, but yeah, there's a sword and makes sense. Let's read this. Mind you, Ormas is from Indonesian. It means like a mass organization, and this is like another leader for a group that is taking back land that's been kind of seized from them, taken from them. This is what the back of a runner card looks like, which we did see it also for mind you, for Ryu, where you see a bit more of the art too. I think it goes a bit lower because the legs get cut off. So if you're a big leg fan, you welcome to Cargo Pants. Topan. It was the Ormas family violence shelter that took Topan in and gave them time to rediscover themselves. Now an Ormas leader, Topan helps achieve their goal, empowering Dayak people. Dayak people are the Aboriginal people from the island of, what's the name of the island again? Borneo? I keep accidentally trying to say Bahrain, which is like obviously very wrong, but they're basically it's like a bunch of 200 different tribes. Yeah, from the area. Yeah, Borneo, right? Yeah, so it's a mixture of people from a lot of different cultures, but they're the people that lived on this island, and they're being displaced by the people coming in and building a space elevator, let alone all other like capitalistic things going on in that space, imperialism and all that. Some question Topan's methods. To Preman, people mutter, as Topan uses standover tactics that rival a Prisectine. Preman is also Indonesian. It translates to like a thug. So, you know, too thug-like. Too girly, others say, watching Topan extract information with a wink and a low-cut blouse. Topan doesn't care. Dayaks are losing their forests to a space elevator, their livelihoods to androids. It's no time for proper methods. Sick. Really do like this. Kind of reminds me a bit about Essa, but it is, you know, somebody fighting for their land back, and specifically like having that sort of, you know, the narrative about either being too masculine or too feminine attached to, you know, they them pronouns, and trying to find what that line is where people don't, you know, have problems with how you're handling yourself is damn sick. Really, really good. Like it a lot. Patchwork the Identity is what people are going to call this, and I think they're kind of wrong, and I just need to highlight some differences because I don't think this is as good as Patchwork, but it does start on the table, which is worth a heck of a lot. So, yeah, the flavor being Anarch as heck is like very, very cool. This is like very on the nose Anarch, and I think for an evergreen content, this is like a fantastic evergreen content. So Patchwork was a console that just leaves, and it's one of the most fun consoles you can play in the game. It does cause some rules issues because it says text like whenever you would play or install, and that's kind of cursed from my understanding. But whenever you would play or install a card, you may trash 1 card from your grip. If you do, instead of the play or install cost of the card, you pay 2 less. So basically when you play or install a card, you pick a card, and then the card costs 2 less, and you trash the card in your hand. This obviously has huge implications when it comes to things like Strike Fund and Steel Skin, because, or sorry, I've had worse, Steel Skin, I've been watching too much Eternal, because they work. The idea that I can install a card for 2 less and draw 2 cards is incredible. Also, just giving econ savings while installing something is very, very good. Most people have to spend a click on their turn where they make 2 to 3 to 4 credits. That's their click, and this allows you to do clicklessly. I am a big fan of Career Fair, and while it's rotating, the fact that you can install a card and save credits all at the same time is very, very easy to undervaluate. That's very, very good. And this allowed you to throw out your worst cards from hand to play or install cards. Now, very careful. Topan is only installing cards, so you can't play your Sure Gamble. You can't play your Dirty Laundry's Gone. You can't play events, and that is worth something. Like buy a bands you'd like to play, you can't, you have to pay the costs. So this is only installing cards, and you need enough install cards to install. I think that's going to be tricky. I don't think we've seen any Anarch cards, so we need to find Anarch cards that we want to install or neutral cards that we want to install as much as we have 15 influence, and cards that cost around 2 to 3 credits. I think Topan actually would have really liked daily cast as much as that's banned, because installing a daily cast for 1 credit makes it very good, very fast. Topan doesn't have an obvious reason to run, again, because it's more install Netrunner than it's run Netrunner, so I don't know whether we're side hustling for 0. But then again, once the card hits the table, then you suffer 1 meat damage. This is also such a big difference from Patchwork, because you don't pick the card. Picking the card is why Patchwork is as good as it is, because you can make sure it hits the strike funds. You can make sure it hits the I've had worses, your steel skins, or your extra copy of Patchwork, and that's not guaranteed here, which is going to mean you're going to have to plan your turn a bit better, but also you're going to have to take 50-50s every once in a while. We've seen the Fractor. Yeah, oh, that's true. But the Fractor cost 1. Kind of sucks, but it's a nice way that you can have extra Fractors in your deck and discard them, and then they power themselves off with Rising Tide. Excuse me, sorry, I'm still a bit sick. My nose is running. I hate snorking into the thing, but I also don't have a Kleenex, and that is kind of the hell I live in right now. Give me 1 second. I have fashioned a handkerchief. Love taking 50-50s. Me too sometimes. I hate Nuvum. Topan is huge for the no basic action meta. Yeah, but you can't run. That's the problem. You need something that runs. So like Topan down a red team. Like now we're talking. That's fun. The saddest rotation is Earthrise for this ID. Yes. So I don't know how people are going to play this identity, because technically if you want to make Topan consistent, the thing that you can do is play on low hand size, because if you only have 3 cards in hand, when you install one of them, it's a 50-50 to hit your strike fund or your other things. So that's actually definitely worth something. Also, like the console slot on this is interesting the same way it's interesting for Phoenix. The fact that you start with a Patchwork means you can play another console. And so like I think Onicom can make a lot of sense. Not only do you install this for 1 credit, if you're randomly trashing events, and events kind of don't make full sense with Topan's text, but they're probably definitely still playing events, so Onicom can make sense. Also, like maybe Lilypad, if you want us to play a lot of programs, this could make a lot of sense, but I'm kind of doubting it. But this is the sort of thing where you'll play Fermenters for no credits, you play Botuluses. I think it might actually be tricky to play Banhar, which was shouted out on the daily cast, because you already need cards in hand, because this action takes 2 cards out of your hand. It's kind of like Carnivore, except Carnivore draws you a card with Lou. This just takes cards out of your hand. And so this card and the Anarch do need card draw. I don't know what the Anarch card draw is going to be. Topan Stargate. Stargate seems good. Yeah, I think you need installables that cost money and that somehow win you the game. But like, you can combine this, mind you, also with like companions. That totally works. But anytime that you see a card that costs 2 or 3, think about it with Topan, because Topan really wants to have that. Lilypad might cook. It might be hard, but Lilypad, like in startup, people play Lilypad, mind you, Anarch, because they don't have a console slot in startup. And it's like not bad, because you run like 3 imps, 3 fermenters, 3 leeches, you run breakers. It's good. I'm making a Topan puzzle. Hell yeah. Buffer drive is fun with Topan. Getting it down for 1, then all the future triggers go to the bottom of the bin. Yeah, Xerxes, how's it going? I think buffer drive is definitely worth shouting out, because the timing makes buffer drive work, because you install the card first and then take the damage. So if you also Topan down the buffer drive, the card that you trash just goes to the bottom of your deck. Now, I'm not worried that you're going to run out of cards for Topan. Buffer drive definitely helps, but more so that you're going to run out of cards in your own hand. Notably, they also just showed Measured Response, which is a Weyland card that might be relatively ubiquitous. I think you can even play it outside of Weyland, as wild as that is sometimes. But it just does 4 meat damage. So playing on low hand size is kind of shit. Lago too, yeah. You definitely want to play Lago if you're playing Buffer Drive and you're playing Strike Fund and all that sort of stuff. So you'll have more cards, hopefully with Lago, Pranwa Shelter, in Topan, and also in Ryu. Verification worth it here if you want a 50-50. I don't think you want to do Verification. I think you want to play Nuka. And it's kind of very similar to how you play in ESSA, is that Nuka is a card you can install, so you could Topan it as much as you're losing value, but that means you want to control your draw. So you want to install Nuka, you want to then Topan a card so it has a chance of hitting your Strike Fund Steel Skin, and then after that, that's when you draw with Nuka. Like, you're really incentivized to be able to control your burst draw, so you can always have a full hand if you need it, but you always generally want to whittle down to low cards, then go up, then whittle down to low cards, so you can control the variance on Topan. If you have a 5-card hand with Topan, it's like, good luck. It's very, very tricky. Same thing with like Banharing, right? Like, if you have good cards in hand, you kind of plan your banner turn around it. I think this looks cool. I think this is the sort of thing where we're going to need 1 or 2 more cards to make it make sense. I do think we have a lot of the synergy package already for Phoenix. Like, you could play Phoenix today and have a good enough time. This does seem like the kind of Netrunner I do enjoy, which is a bit puzzly, a bit wanton, a bit Anarch for sure. Natural subtype. Shout out to the Natural gang. But yeah, sick. I think the 2 Anarchs are pretty cool. Genuinely very quite cool. I like them a heck of a lot. Both their stories, their art, their the design. Once per turn trigger. I think Stoneship is a shout out to save yourself. Oh, Stoneship is good too. The problem is like, this is what people are gonna be like, you can't play a 0-cost card in the Topan deck because it doesn't make sense. But yeah, you probably can get away with it. And again, if we get any sort of synergy cards, I mentioned this earlier, but oh my god, if you get something like a titanium ribs, this is like sees play in Eternal to some extent, but this says whenever you take damage, you pick the card, then we're really popping off. And then of course, if you find something that's a win condition like Clan Vengeance, which could never be legal in Standard, it's currently banned. This says every time you take damage, you put a power counter on that and you use the power counter to win the game. So if we find more payoffs for taking consistent damage, obviously Topan is going to want to take consistent damage. And so we probably need payoffs for that. I'm hoping we see them. They might not be in this box though. It feels like a mechanical companion counterpart to Seb's whole game plan, similar style but with a different resource. Yeah, I guess so. They kind of are. Also like the terms of like the community leadership is pretty consistent. Just rag install the stone ship? No, I'm gonna take 2 damage or 1 damage. I think the cost thing is kind of a trap. I'd rather have a 0 cost than fits my overall game plan for something more expensive. Not only is that Steven, but like you want the 0 coster so you can click 1, install your stone ship, and then click 2 fire Topan. Like 0 costers probably actually do make sense because of the cards you can dump from your hand, just like you can install Nuka without considering your economy, just so that Topan's easier to use. I do think the 0 costers is actually like definitely worth something. Cheap cards are good for Topan. All right, next up we have the last Jinteki identity, PT Untaian. Kind of pointed out that if you say this, it is a rude word in French, if you pronounce it a certain way. Life's building blocks. Jinteki 4515. When your discard phase ends, if there are 3 or fewer cards in HQ, you may pay a credit to place 1 advancement counter on an unrezzed card you can advance. You cannot score this turn. Flavor text is the looming future, which for those who don't know, PT Untaian is making the sort of mycel, like silkworm type thing, which is this sort of like string like strong structure that is being used to make the space elevator. So the loom, which, you know, does strings and stuff like that, kind of like Atea does webs, it's just Jinteki's all over webbing the place up, is a good pun. It's really good. I should talk about my ID choice a lot if I play this for cons. It's more like French, European French than Quebecois French. You do hear this, the curse here, but it's from people from France. Oh, I just got that. Yeah. This is Europeans will know what that's about. Doesn't work with Charlotte. It works with Charlotte once. One time. PT Untaian, life's building blocks. It's an oft retold myth that silk is stronger than steel. But what if it were actually true? This is the question with executives at PT Untaian dared, I don't know how to pronounce that, we'll find out soon, dared to ask their scientists. And those questions were answered beyond their wildest dreams and stock projections. PT Untaian's mycel is the first biologically produced space-grade material, and it is being used to build what speculators are calling the last great space elevator. What nature-inspired Jinteki has perfected. Okay, there's a better way to read that. What nature-inspired Jinteki has perfected. Perfection shows up on a whole bunch of their cards. We get 2 arts. This is Akira. This is the space worm, the sort of silkworm tower that shows up in a couple arts we've seen so far. I have no doubt that this will be an asset or something. I don't think this is a crop from an art. Maybe it's actually also could be an agenda. But yeah, these buildings are going to get their own shout out, which we've seen that before, mind you. Agroplex, like this sort of Jinteki gets a building. That's a thing. Kind of looks like a urethra. This one's pretty wangy. This one is even more wangy than most, I think. It's a bit like slightly crooked. It's like, you know. And then we get Matthias Kalza, who has this where it's probably, I don't know if it's about the science or about this person, but they're touching DNA and there's some org chem stuff that I know nothing about. Might be a region. Oh, it could be a region, actually. That could be a shout out. Yeah. That could be a region. I think the most side of the shot is the most phallic one. This one's the most phallic. This one's a bit yonic, but like, it's still fine. Shout out also to the art. This is really fun. So this is from Kira, and Kira did the system update art from Personal Evolution. And this is so similar in terms of color palette, which is really funny. So Personal Evolution, same idea, gray-white buildings on top of hill with the blue-white sky. And the color palette is exactly the same here, which like, you know, 5 years later, just pretty wild. You get the manicure garden at the front, and then you see the structure being built out of these weaves. All right, when you discard face ends, if there are 3 or fewer cards in HQ, you may pay a credit to place an advancement counter on res card you can advance. I'll be honest, off the top, there's a lot of words on this. This one I struggle with the same way I struggled with the other thing, that there's so much text and it's not obvious what you want me to do with this. But I do think the use cases of this are a bit more straightforward to some extent. But like, I don't think any of the Jinteki identities grabbed me the same way that any of the Anarchs we've seen so far or the Weyland identity we've seen so far is. It is a lot of words to do something, and like I'm parsing it out slowly, okay? The side-on shot is a bit Yonic. Yeah, this one's a bit Yonic for sure. So don't have cards in hand. Honestly, might be a problem considering we're expecting sabotage, we're expecting HQ pressure, we're expecting somebody running with a guitar and you have to trash stuff from your hand. Could be a problem. Having 3 or fewer cards in HQ is also a problem for HQ pressure. It's a problem you can't find Anoetic Void, but you have 3 or few cards in HQ. If one of those is an agenda, a 1 and 3 is a lot worse than a 1 and 5, let me tell you. But at the end of your turn, you may pay a credit to place an advancement on an unresed card, which I forgot about that when I first read this. That's not great. And a card you can advance, which is fine. It can be ice. So if you never res your logjam to the moon, it goes clicklessly, but a credit, but clicklessly is huge there. And otherwise you can advance things like agendas and Charlotte. I do want to shout out, as soon as the Charlotte is res, this ability doesn't work, which is good that you can do turn 1 Charlotte very easily. You just install 3 cards and then you're on 3 cards in hand and you can get Ice HQ, Ice Remote, Ice Charlotte, or Advanced Charlotte clicklessly. Very, very good. But then from that point on, you actually have to advance the Charlotte, which means that you're probably playing Lacosta Grid. And if you're playing Lacosta Grid, the ability still kind of works together because now you can like never advance as much as you're showing the advancement of 5-3 on the table, potentially. But it does work with Charlotte for a moment. For a moment. Otherwise, what are you doing with this? I think the idea is that every turn you can put an agenda in the remote server, a 4-2 agenda, and you can advance it. And next turn you can score it out. So every turn, in theory, you can make this like push yourself forward, precision design like ability where you're putting things on the table that the runner has to run down, because otherwise you can score a 4-2, next turn install advance, you're another 4-2, next turn you do install advance, PT again, and then you're on a 5-3. It's Rush Jinteki. We've never seen Rush Jinteki work. Whether Rush Jinteki has the tools for it, the defensive upgrades, the economy, the agendas, I honestly don't know. My testing group likes this. I don't get it. I don't like it. Now, on the other hand, we have the ability to play traps, and I think that's what most people are going to do with this. The idea that every turn, if they don't res the clearinghouse or they don't know what it is, right? That's the idea. You can just keep advancing it. And you can keep doing that. And I will continue to play Hermes. And we will be good friends, you and I, in our healthy environment we've built together. But yeah, you can just do that. You can put traps on the table, constantly advance them. And if they don't run it, Neurospike. If they do run it, Clearinghouse. If they do run it, Urtica. If they don't run it, Cerebral Overrider. There's a lot of things you can do with it if you like advancing cards and saying, if you don't run the right things, you lose. If you run the right things, you win. Not a big fan of that. Luckily, though, for those, it's like not my preferred play style. Back in the day, I like to play a lot of that, but at least they only have 3 cards in hand, which means you can probably run them down. So that's, yeah, it's not good. My honest thought was this would be good with Iswak. And this is what I mean when Jinteki identities are really strange. Like this seems so similar to Iswak in some ways. I don't know. I'm interested to see the PD Rush comparison. I never saw anybody talk about Saraswati that way. Yeah, Saraswati, sorry. We definitely should talk about Saraswati. And Saraswati also competitively didn't do anything. But could you use Saraswati like PD every turn? Yes, you could. Now, there's a major downside with Saraswati is you cannot res the card until your turn begins, which means if you Saraswati down an NGO front and they run it, you're cooked. Funny enough, if you Saraswati down a Charlotte, you can't res it for the start of turn window, which is not what you think the way that this is intuitively read, which makes it really bad for some of the utility plays. Now, the things that I do think are actually good with this are our friend Gordon. Like you can Gordon the same way you can Cordon, is that you can do install advance Cordon, get another advance. Like you can do some wild stuff with this. If there's no imp equivalent, that's actually kind of strong. I think that's one of my favorite interactions with this. The same way that Pravdivos can kind of play Gordon really good. But yeah, you can just put cards on the table and get advancements. It's like kind of Prav. It requires you to play this weird play style. I think having 3 cards in your hand actually is a pretty big downside though. Mitosis out 2-3 advanced traps. Yeah, you can't do that. I had a lot of fun with Saraswati back in the day when Pad Factory was a card. I kind of want Pad Factory back, but that's because of Mirror Morph. What kind of abilities are not strange for Jinteki then? They feel unthemed to me, but I haven't played the game in a long time. I don't know. Like, it's a shame to say that, but like, I just want like Polana back. I just want Polana. Honestly, like, I think PE would be fun if they had to pay a credit or something. Like, I think you can build it. It just feels like the Jinteki identities are incredibly over. There's so many words on them. They're very, very over-designed. Like the cleanliness of Zwicky versus the Jinteki identities, one of them feels like Diesel, the other one feels like a Yu-Gi-Oh card. And that's nothing wrong with that. Some of my favorite cards are complicated. But I think the thing that I've been struggling with is like, Ob has a lot of words on it, but I could describe Ob in one sentence. What does Ob want to do? Oh, you trash cards to get other cards. Okay, cool. Can we describe PD in one sentence? Yeah, score cards, get a card back, hand size. Can I describe Oko in a sentence? No. I don't think I can. You have to do damage or trash cards to get power counters, which mill your deck so you draw extra cards. Maybe I can be a bit more reductive, which is do damage to draw cards. Yeah, maybe you can, but like the steps in the middle are pretty wild. Yeah, I guess people just said it, do damage to draw cards. Maybe I don't have a point there. I just can't grok them. I'm struggling to understand what I'll want to be done. I do think as soon as we see more Jinteki cards, it'll be obvious what the designers expect us to do with it. Some people would really like that open, open gates. For me, I'm like, I'll wait to see more cards. Ag Infusion? I think Ag Infusion is pretty straightforward. Atea is pretty straightforward. These are way less straightforward than I imagined, especially for elevation. You can describe Ag in one word, boop. Jinteki's the work compression faction, but they're so hard to mechanize succinctly. I think HB is more work compression, Steven, I would guess. What do you think about nano management being an exact print of biotic labor? I think that the playtesters and the designers found out that that card slot was important and they could not make a design that was worth complicating things. And if that's what they found out, they're probably right. I'm totally fine with that. I am upset that I can't legally play biotic labor. It is not tournament legal. In a casual setting, I can. If PT Linchen becomes red PD, I will physically eat the card. I wouldn't recommend it, but like I'm not hot on this. I know a lot of folks that I respect their opinion are really hot on this. I imagine it was good in playtesting. But like just jamming turn after turn after turn, maybe we have the card pool to support that. From what I've seen, I don't think we do. But if Jinteki has good agendas, a good defensive upgrade that isn't anoetic, and you don't crumble to HQ pressure from Anarchs, then yeah, honestly, that's a fine ability. It's okay. It's interesting you mentioned Ob. We had exact same concerns when it was revealed. Folks struggled to grok the simple form. What I mean with that is that it self-simplifies as it gets used. Yeah, 100%. The sentence on Ob is like rules complete, so it's really hard, and people like will read a couple sentences and get scared. But once you play Ob, it's like super intuitive. This one, like the fact that it has so many clauses, like you have to pay the credit to place an advance on an unres card you can advance, like that's not too bad. Like I'm clearly being a baby, but it's like it's not smooth. And I imagine it's not smooth because it was playtested at this point. They're like, these cards remind me of Moonpool. And it's not that Moonpool isn't a cool card, but the amount of clauses on Moonpool makes it like I have to reread this every time I play it. You remove this as a trash up to 2 cards from HQ. Like I watched gameplay from the Steel City Grid YouTube channel. I didn't know that you could shuffle back non-agendas with this. This card has been out for 2 years, 3 years. I didn't know you could shuffle back any card with this. I saw Wiki do it, and even Seb K was like, what are you doing? And Wiki's like, you can shuffle anything back. And then Seb's like, oh my God, you can, right? Like, this is what I mean. Sometimes the elegance of the design, like the balance gets in the way of the elegance. And we're probably more happy for a more balanced game, but like some things just can't be grokked. I can't grok this. Don't bring up Adrian Seiss. It feels like most Jinteki cards I have an Adrian Seiss problem with. Let's be honest. That's on me. I think it's on you. I'm totally fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. It could be on me, but like, this is a Yu-Gi-Oh card. Yeah, Adrian time. Don't even. Adrian's probably playable in this because it's not anoetic. I can't keep my head in what Moonpool does, and I got a best kickflip prize in Manchester last year for Moonpool. Yeah, I remember that story. At least I remember hearing that story. I don't remember what the kickflip was. Our legal department informs us that we have to tell you to not eat the delicious cards. Who's ate a card in the past, Cat? That's awful. I don't know. There's cards I have to reread. I imagine I have to reread these for a bit. And I don't think I have to reread Zwicky. That's all I'm saying. I don't think I have to reread the Anarchs. Adrian is a card I'll agree with you on. I think everything else is reasonable after a couple of uses. Yeah, I can see why you disagree with me. Jinteki kickflips best kickflips. I agree, but like, give me a Atea. I think I understand the text on Atea. I don't know. I'm fine. It's weird also coming from someone who's played this game for such a long time. Like you assume his comprehension is a bit better, but it's clearly struggling. It's 11:41. Are we doing the wheel? I think we have to do the wheel because we technically did Weyland wheel before. Let me tell you, so far from what we've seen, elevation looks hype. Elevation looks hella hype. I think this is an ID ability that's going to like give new players like some wild ideas of what they can do with it, and whether they play like, you know, traps or whether they do some rushing with it. I don't know, especially when it comes to the smaller card pool, but in a bigger card pool, I think there's definitely uses for this in different ways, which is cool. It's cool that the identity is flexible like that. As much as like Prov Devos is flexible. Yeah, we'll probably see some flexible Prov. Looks like I got nuked from orbit with rotation, but I'd love to try and make it work again. Yeah, it's not good to lose the TPR and Jinja and all those other tricks, but I imagine we'll get something. People are pretty hot on Lengeet Grid, which for what it's worth, I think Lengeet Grid is the card. The more I think about it, the more I like it. Have fun and thanks for streaming. Jamie, thanks for dropping by. Good work with all the rules stuff. It's fun to see the new cards coming out. Played a decent amount of Adrian Seiss. I think most people just do the side game and let me tell them what happens. That's what I do. And the problem is sometimes I'm the corp. I should have known better. Is there a Saraswati doc you remember this new ID would have made better? No. Well, all of them. Yes, all of them. Every single one. Besides the fact that 3 cards in hand. So this, you could take any Saraswati deck and change it with this, and it would probably be better because you can res your NGOs, you can res your Charlottes, you can do all that sort of stuff. The problem is you need to have 3 cards in hand. And having 3 cards in hand means that you have to be able to quickly put things onto the table, which is tricky. Because that deck doesn't move very fast. It clicks for credits a lot of time because its economy sucks. So if we can solve that problem, sure. Sure. I'm actually super excited about the world building they're doing. And I think the setting will be really cool to play in one of our new deep field spaces. Like, I can't overstate how cool the text on the back of the card is. I know when it came to the last set that came out, we missed some of the narrative stories. And the fact that these stories, I've got this comment a lot. It's like people have to go onto the Null Single Games website, go to the blog section or go to the stories like subtype just to find out about their cards. And I do think of the Rebellion Without Rehearsal did come with a little narrative card that recapped some characters and some of the corporations. I don't think all of them, but the fact that these are baked in does so much to like really substantiate the world. And that there's not going to be like, oh, we didn't talk about this, right? Like, oh, we didn't talk a lot about Nuvang, so you can figure it out. Like, I think knowing about it does do a lot for me, as much as I think I'm more of a mechanics first player. Yeah, Hanse's neat. Hanse's definitely neat. Cards that trash cards for costs are fine with this. I wish this played with the influence and deck count a bit with the set. It is for System Gateway players. These are all 45. So we saw 117, the first time we've seen an Anarch 17. I think Zwicky on 17 would be pretty wild. I think that'd be pretty wild, but 45-15 is like, I don't think making this number 16 changes it. So you have to do 17, and that's usually for flavor and or balance, but I'm not super concerned. I know what you mean. I think it's fine to make people have to do some work to find scoops. The point is community engagement. But it's not scoops. It's like the basic narrative of the game. I don't know. I like that it's attached. That's all I'm saying. The lore inserts and FFG data packs are cool. The IDs backs are a cool way to bring some of that back. Yeah. When back in the day, whenever you bought, and this still happens, not so much actually. I was thinking about Marvel Champions. It doesn't. But when you bought Android Netrunner data packs back in the day, they came with a little leaflet that had a little story. And for certain cycles, the stories were linear. So you had to read all 6 of them if you bought them. And it actually had like, you know, a beginning and an end. Some of them were more scattered. Some of them were just like standalone stories, but sometimes it would focus on like a character in that pack. But it was really, really cool. It was something that I have no doubt took some resources from them that technically wasn't necessary for the product, but they did it. It's great. Or yes, it had story on cards, right? It might have. It also might have depended on where you got the release. Because I forget when NSG started doing their own box release. There's a chance it didn't if you bought it from Make Playing Cards, but it's been a while. I don't remember. But some of them did have inserts, but some of the inserts are just rule stuff. Some of them are stories. Some of them are just like, welcome to the North. This is what's going on. Bye now. As opposed to like, here's, 100 words about ESA or whatever. Box release started from Parhelion. That sounds right. Tragic that Mumbed and Flashpoint had the best stories? I don't think it's tragic. You could still read them. That's good. I don't remember the stories that much. The stories I remember the most are the ones from Lunar. I remember the Lunar storyline, and I remember the storylines from Sansan. I don't remember that many other stories, but my memory's weird. All right, it's getting late. We're just gonna have to spin this and then kind of get on with our day. Does anyone want to put on bets where we're spinning? Let me go ahead, get my string, and then with the string, Lucy bumped it. Thanks, Lucy. If anyone wants to put the bet where this is gonna land, we'll spin it. Flashpoint is S tier. Oh, I do remember a bit of Flashpoint too, especially the 23 seconds thing. Imagine it lands on that really narrow band. Weyland, that's cool. Okay, let's look at the Weyland cards. We technically have done this once before, but for the completeness sake, we'll run through it. I think Weyland is the faction that loses the most. I am actually really scared for Weyland. I think the fact that you can see every Weyland ice in this set functionally is a bad. It looks bad out there. It honestly does not look good. So we'll do Side Corp. That's it. Is it Audacity and Atlas? It's more than that. It's more than that, my friend. By faction images, let's go. Thanks for the stream. Well, we're still going, Grendel, but thank you. All right, we're gonna go through this. We're going to talk about cards that are rotating. Sometimes it's the Weyland cards that matter, but sometimes it's the other faction cards that matter. We're going to be talking about the Weyland faction. We're focusing on competitive standard play to talk about certain cards that are leaving the format and the holes that they leave. All right, here we go. Weyland cards don't matter. Some people play Maryland and Op. It's cool that you have a 2-cost trashable that's infinite. I don't think it's necessary, but it's actually surprisingly good. So that's a bummer. Magnet going. Actually, for Op, like anytime that you lose a one of weird niche playable tech card, it does hurt Op because Op can always play a Magnet and grab it with the border control. And in certain matchups, that matters more than others. Some people believe you don't need Magnet in Op because your ice is already pretty temporary. So if they put a Trojan on your ice, it's probably gone in the near future. But I have enjoyed the Magnets I have played as much as the 3-cost and the run code gate slot in Weyland exists inside faction if you really want to. Ob and taters. Can't grab a Magnet with BC anymore for a couple reasons for sure. I want to shout out to some players who've been playing Gatekeeper either in Op or also I've seen it in Outfit. I think CTZ's been playing it and I haven't played those decks, but like Gatekeeper and Op is like super inspired for a couple reasons. I think that's really cool. Gatekeeper, mind you, is obviously a massive loss to HB. That's honestly going to be a problem. I think that's going to be a legitimate problem. Biotic Labor, going to say that might matter for mutually assured destruction combos. You're good. It has a different name. You'll learn it. Maybe there'll be a border control alike in a different faction with Opkin import. If they reprinted border control in non-Weyland, I mean, they could. I feel like people wouldn't be happy. What else we got here? I don't care about this stuff. Jinteki agendas, you can't play those. This doesn't matter. Snare actually does matter. The fact that we don't have a snare, modernism exists, right? Like there's now a Weyland deck that cares about how many cards you have in hand once you're on threat 4. Because measured response says if they made a successful run, you can do 4 damage to them if they don't pay 8 credits. And the card like snare is actually really important for modernism. It's the sort of thing where I'm going fast enough and you can't respect everything. You have to respect the tag in theory because I could be playing end of the line. You have to respect cards in hand because I could be playing measured response and because you could just die. Skipped Worried. Oh, Worried technically matters for like, not really in HB. Like, I guess it matters for Venti, but I actually have very shockingly little experience with Venti, and that whole thing is going anyways. Mostly. Venti Erasure? Yeah, Venti is actually like a really big blank spot in my competitive play. Go back to Worried? Never. Forget it, it's gone. Makes them thematically Jinteki has unusual hard and the run abilities. Do you think Snare will be reprinted with a threat 4 text? No. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I don't think Snare is already self-balancing. Like if someone fires a Snare on turn 1 against me, like I'm happy as a runner because they just paid 4 credits, right? Like I just don't think it's a card that attaches itself to threat. Paying 4 credits on turn 1 is already like a bad idea for a corporation that has built-in threat technology, if you ask me. Reprint border control and NBN to make nobody happy. And it gives a tag. Thimble Rig, that's a good 2-cost ice. And mind you, people like this. Weyland does have most positional ice in the entire format, or at least did, with cards like Border Control and Winchester and Afshar and Surveyor. They actually have a lot of positional ice, and so Thimble Rig is kind of well liked, particularly as a 2-cost slot. In there's not a lot of 2-cost ice. We did get Descent, which is fine in Weyland, but Thimble Rig has been pretty good, especially because of the Border Control trick. But that goes for a couple of reasons. I'm gonna miss Thimble Rig so bad. It's a really cool card. But I have no doubt when we saw like, what's it called? Tributary, that there's a precedent to get a Weyland ice that, or a movable Jinteki ice. Do you think a near print of Anson Rose would help Weyland's situation? No. And I think actually like I would like it if everyone forgot that advancing ice is a possibility and we just stopped supporting it. Like I wish like we just forgot about all of it and we just said advancements on ice not real. I don't think Weyland's ice, like, I don't think the problem with Weyland is that they don't have enough advanceable ice and they can't advance the ice enough. I honestly just, at this point, I'm so sick and tired of advanceable ice. I would do a lot to get rid of all of it. Reprint Markiel, who's pretty bad in standard, so he shouldn't cause any problems. Oh my God. Yeah. I want to like Markiel to snare people in Eternal. I don't know if people are playing around that. Trick of Light technically matters only sort of. You could play this in BTL. I think this is more of a startup thing than a standard thing, but it's notable that a win condition off of advanceable cards is something that Weyland really appreciated for a while, not for a long time. Biovault. Okay, this is a big, big card. Biovault is the way that you can make Weyland and build Glacier Weyland. And not only can you have a really strong remote server, but you can use the strong remote server to protect all your central servers. Biovault won Worlds. It has almost won Worlds again. I think what did Sokka come in 3rd place last year? But this sort of thing where I'm going to put this in the remote server and build to last and make my strong remote server protect every central server is actually kind of rare. There's very few cards in the game where the remote server can affect the centrals. I think it's like mostly B1001 at this point. But Biovault's actually like a really, really big loss for Weyland Glacier. This is a really, really big card. Shout out to Embolus as well. Earth Station too, like, man, losing Biovault and Embolus to Earth Station, it still might be relevant for some reasons because we have like very good assets, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. No. I was looking for a mess in chess, so it's not in there. I think Advanceable Ice that doesn't scale off strength, like Hordem. Yeah, I wish Advanceable Ice, like I'm okay with mode changing Advanceable Ice, like you know, Hordem in theory. I think the face check on Hordem is just still kind of messed up, but I do think there's ways to make Advanceable Ice interesting. Like arguably Mess and Chessful, as much as Mess and Chessful is overbearing, I do not like scaling Advanceable Ice. I'm very tired of it. Wraparound and Op. Wraparound and Op is good, but it is also like a response to the modern meta. In a world without Amakua, I don't think you're going to need Wraparound that much, but Wraparound is definitely a good card. I wouldn't say Op. Yeah, Ops do play it, but it's a bigger loss for NBN, of course. Oh, Data Loop. I keep going over Data Loop. Man, every time I miss Data Loop. Yeah, Data Loop is really good. 3rd in Worlds back in 2022. This is one of the few barriers that, or few cards, firstly, a barrier that has on encounter text that actually does matter. And if you care about cards in hand because you're playing CityWorks Project and Punitive, losing Data Loop actually sucks a lot. I keep forgetting about Data Loop. This matters for Jinteki, it matters for Weyland a lot. Wraparound is cool. Wraparound's really good. Wraparound's a good card. It's important the Audrey Crew matchup. It is. And I think it is overperforming right now because one of the best decks is Audrey Crew. Yeah, I should have Shadow Wraparound. Yeah, definitely. Good card. Very good card. I just don't think of it as a big Weyland card. But yeah, people are playing in Weyland. You're totally right. Cali testing for op players. It's a really fun card. Super niche. But this is a very good op card. I've won many, many games over the last couple of weeks with just playing calibration testing and op because people are not ready for that line. And it's a very strong line. Welcome to Weyland cards and where things get very, very sad, unfortunately. CityWorks Project, it's a 5/3. It's public, it's installed face up, and it does a whole bunch of meat damage. This is an effect we'd really like. In a world without Punitive, it doesn't matter because cards in hand seems to be a very relevant win condition for modern Weyland. This leaves Weyland with one 5/3. Oh, no, two 5/3s actually. So they still have a good, healthy 5/3 suite. The two Weyland 5/3s are SDS and Basalt Spire, which are both very good, which means you can play 6 agenda BTL in the future and it'll be fine. But this is a card that's not super popular, but similarly to the Punitive decks and the Data Loop decks, this is good. Oh, Jemison. Yeah, I'm going to totally forget about Jemison because Jemison just isn't like competitively relevant, but Jemison used to be one of my favorite identities, so I shouldn't do that. But yeah, there's a lot of weird Jemison support leaving. Hostile. This sucks. This is like super integral. Understanding what bad publicity is going to mean means like things like regulatory capture in a really awkward spot with rotation. That's a card you're not going to see here, but like losing bad publicity cards and losing the outfit together makes things like regulatory capture look really, really strange. Hostile is just a very good card. It's a 2/1 that gives you 5 credits. This could fire Zwicky, but we don't have it. The original 2 arts of this are both fantastic, but this is just like a card that's been around for such a long time and is like so quintessentially Weyland. Having a cheap agenda you can score out so you can res your Plutus. Like having a 2/1, having a 2/0 for Plutus seems really important, and so that you don't have to actually trash 3 cards from hand, which might not be the worst thing, but losing 3 cards, it sucks for sure. Yeah, all the Weyland agendas here are very, very good. Well, most of them. But like all the system update agendas are so good. Like Oaktown would be so good in Zwicky. One of my favorite agendas of all time. Face up, it's public, I'm getting money. I can now res ice and go down to 0 to 1 credits and still score it out next turn, just like my favorite Weyland agenda of all time. This used to be a lot better in a world where we had punishment for stealing agendas on the last turn. We don't have mid-seasons, we haven't, but easily one of my favorite agendas of all time. Next to my other favorite agenda of all time, Project Alice. We're losing a 3/2. Weyland still has access to a bunch of 3/2s because they still have AZF, so you can still do fast advance type stuff as much as Weyland fast advance leaves. But this is one of the coolest cards of all time. It's flexible, it's consistent, allows you to play pressure combo decks, it's aggressive, pulling it at the right time to shuffle the deck or at the wrong time to grab your hostile when you should have kept it for the Audacity. Just like the coolest card. It's been around since 2012. Yeah, came out in the first cycle. It's hard to imagine Weyland without this. This is the card I think I attach mostly with what Weyland does. And any deck I build usually gets better by Atlas and getting a counter on it. Yeah, this is going to be very, very sad to see this go. I don't know if they're going to reprint it. Again, I think having 3 2s makes a lot of sense, or having 4 2s. Like we are going to expect to see a bunch of faction agendas because system update is missing faction agendas. They only have 1. Project Atlas kind of busto though, super cool. It's not even busto. Like it's powerful, but honestly, I think Vitruvius might be a bit more busto, but that might just be like the way that those factions work. Like Atlas is strong, but it's strongest around fast advance. Like we don't see people pulling Atlas for like Scorched Earth combos, which is what you used to do. Yeah, it's good. Very good. I don't care about these. I don't care about this one. Standoff sees play modernly, but whatever. Strong doesn't equal busted. Alec, how's it going? Yeah, very, very, very strong. Oh, Nana's knocking stuff over. It's gotten too late. She wants food. We'll get through this. All right. There's a reason Titan and Weyland. Titan could be anywhere else, maybe. I remember there was like, okay, to show what Titan is, Titan got banned. But Titan says whenever you score an agenda, put an agenda counter on it, which means all of your Atlases were 3 2s that could grab a card from your deck. At 17 influence, this is one of the fastest decks in the format you could win on turn 4. There were formats in which you could take a legal deck and just change the identity without caring about legality, and people would play NBN decks and shift it to Titan, and then they would score at AstroScript pilot programs that would have 2 agenda counters on them, which this you can use to get a free advancement, which is strong, and then you could score out Beals that were worth 3 points. I never played that format, but I remember seeing those decks, and that is like one of my strong Titan memories for some reason. As much as I brought Titan to at least 1 Worlds, if not 2. I was a big Titan fan, but I played mid-seasons Titan, not fast advanced Titan, like straight fast advanced Titan, which is maybe a mistake. All right, standoff matters. Urban renewal matters for op stuff. This used to be like one of the most core cards in op. That would play tempo, hard-hitting news type. I'm going to put out assets. If you deal with my assets, I'll hurt you. If you have low cards in hand, I can kill you with an Azief. For the first season op was around, this is one of the most important cards in the whole thing. This is a very cool card. It's been banned for a bit. Drudge work can leave. I don't care. What else? People say open forum matters in Epiphany. I haven't done the combo. Okay, ice. Ice. We're losing a lot of really good ice. The like very playable ice archer is one of the most important sentries in the format. Every Weyland deck, it seems, is an eminent archer grabber. We have seen a 14 cost 6 strength destroyer, mind you, in the upcoming card fan, whether it's archer like, it does have an end the run subroutine. We'll find out how similar those stack up, but those are tall shoes to fill for sure. Hordem, very good. 4 cost code gates are at a premium in the format where Buzzsaw is common in startup and system gateway. It has neat text. The face check is totally fine. And if you want anti-AI hate, this is a way to have anti-AI hate that is not like blowing the game out on a face check like Hammer is. Icewall is just Icewall. It's fine. I feel like if you want scaling guys, having it being 1 strength makes it a bit more reasonable as opposed to like the other stuff I don't like. Border control, one of the most important bans of all time. Without border control, I think op is kind of cooked unless you play full assets op. Scoring op, this was one of the best cards. It was almost unassailable in their mode server, excuse me. The 4 cost into 3 cost chain, just so good. It's the best op card. Extract is very good too, but this means that it's going to be much harder to fire op consistently. Yeah, it's very sad. Every Weyland loves this. Some Weylands didn't run 3 copies of them. A lot of them still do, but this is just one of the strongest ice we've ever seen. I think even assets op really loves border control. Yeah, everyone loves border control. But I feel like if you want to fire op consistently enough to be happy about it, you probably have to play assets. I'm not sure. I've been playing Ganked Hammer recently, and oh boy, that's been getting people with blowouts. Yeah, I can imagine that. Ganked, for what it's worth, Ganked will get everyone with blowouts because no one plays around it, but Hammer has bad subroutines. Bless you, thank you. Surveyor used to be a metaforce. This used to be one of the most frustrating ice in the game for like a weird period of time. After that, we got Boomerang, and then Surveyor seemed kind of goofy, but this came out in the last cycle before we got Boomerang, and it used to be like constantly a 6 strength, trace 6, and that was just hard to deal with. Sure, the metas revolved around how you could deal with Surveyor, and there were some options better than others. Currently, Surveyor seems niche to no play. Whether you're playing Jinja City Grid decks, which that leaves 2, this card is been kind of in a bad spot for a while. I do think also like Hush has not been great, but all the Weyland Ice dies to Hush. Identities, honestly, only one of them really matters if you ask me, and that's Outfit, because bad publicity has no obvious home, and so all the bad publicity payoff cards are probably not going to see a lot of play. You played Hostile in a world before Outfit. You don't need Outfit for Hostile Takeover to be good, but you did want a reason to take 700 bad publicity, and so like you're going to have a bunch of really weird cards that are just kind of orphaned in the format, whether it's regulatory capture or that borehole. Like a lot of those cards are just not going to make sense. It's interesting to see if Trebuchet or Valenchow show up anywhere, because I don't know where they would show up. They're not bad ice. Like they're actually pretty good ice. But the question is like, how bad is bad publicity for you? How fast is the game closing? Plutonium banned rotating with magnet rotating is big. Yeah, I don't think we have anything that has that text. Plutonium has been banned for a while. SSO is a swingy but fun idea once at a time. Yeah, I don't like the design of it. I liked SSO when it came out for a while, but like it snowballs in a way that seems really relatively unhealthy. All right, punitive. This is obviously really big. It's clear the designers have problems with punitive. I think a lot of people do, but having meat damage be a Weyland upfront, I'm going to hurt you, is like very important. And the fact that that's baked into the new core set is really good for how people pick up Weyland and learn about Weyland. I'm glad to see punitive go. We still have some trace cards, which is really awkward. I don't think I'd be super upset if NSG said we banned all trace cards so that new players don't have to learn that stuff, because it shows up on like 3 cards and like most of them are Weyland cards and I guess ScapeNet. But yeah, it could be a more interesting card in the future. Wake Up Call has seen some play, but not super important. All right, TBTF is niche. Red Plant Couriers, glad it's gone. This is Audacity. This is huge. This is honestly no joke. Unless you're playing Weyland Glacier, I think 8 out of 10 Weyland games end in Audacity or use Audacity to win. Like, this is such a big rotation that Weyland now has to score points in a remote server or just Holloman. Like probably just Holloman is what they're going to end up doing. Use credits to Holloman. But this is one of the most powerful cards in the whole game. It gives the Weyland to say, you can tell them, hey, get to 5 points and then closing the game won't matter. Audacity's really, really good. This is one of the hardest hits, honestly. Losing board control, losing Audacity, losing the agenda suite. Like I think Weyland is absolutely gutted because this is a win condition. Again, every Weyland deck plays 1 Audacity unless they're playing Hyper Glacier, and they usually win because of it. So Under the Bus has been a bit of a tech card. Yeah, Under the Bus actually was pretty good in certain metas. And I think you'd actually play Under the Bus unironically in a Phoenix meta because destroying Banhar means there's a problem. Why does Weyland get stuck at 5 without Audacity? So classically, why? Is Weyland used to work, and it's not exactly the case, but kind of. Weyland works on speed and threat. And I don't mean threat by the actual rules of threat, but the idea is that Weyland back in the day was running modernism. So if I have something like Scorched Earth is saying that if you run too aggressively, I will have more money than you. I will give you a tag and then I'll do 8 meat damage. So for the early game, you have to be aggressive. You have to be fast. But if you set up and you establish your tech cards, you establish your economy, then this is a useless kill combination, right? So back in the day, the runner player would, try and keep up without taking too many risks. And then eventually they'd find something like a Plascrete Carapace. And once a Plascrete Carapace came down, then they were set up and they didn't have to worry about the meat damage combo. So that's the idea, is that Weyland sometimes could rush and be aggressive and the runner said, okay, you do your thing. And they would get to 5 points. But once they got to the last 5 points, there's only so many hostiles in the game. So they had to score out their last points in the remote server. And at that point, the runner was on top of them. Their ice wasn't that good and they could get into the remote server for pennies and they weren't scared of dying. So all the ramifications of being aggressive were removed. Modernly, it's not too different. Like a lot of op decks have their strongest in the early to mid game. And then once you get to the late game where all the border controls have popped and all their sandstones are worn down and their R&D is like 12 cards, 7 of them are agendas somehow, right? Like they need a way to close the game out because generally they do not last forever. They have to get to 5. And at that point, the runner has their turbine and their cleaver and they're breaking all the ice for 1 credit. The Stavka is fired. That is the point where you have to have a cheat code to get out of the game because you do not last long enough. That's why Weyland Glacier can go the distance, but they don't. All right. We just have a couple more. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm a bit loud. It's late. Yeah, I need to quiet down. Thanks, buddy. Trojan Horse going. Bless it. Crazy grid going actually is really important. This is one of the few ways you can stop successful run triggers, but notably is also really important for Earth Station that wants to have successful run triggers not happen. Stay tuned if you ever see an identity that cares about a successful run as a way to interact with it positively or negatively. This is what you don't want, or this is what the runner doesn't want. So very important card to have in the meta. And this is a 1 influence card. We're expecting to have another account siphon come back, and a account siphon that was very hard for many people to deal with. And Crisium Grid was the first breath of fresh air where someone could just put this on HQ and say, I don't have to worry about getting diversion of funds or account siphon back in the day. So I do think we're going to see some very strong successful run triggers, and Crisium Grid's the way you can deal with it for sure. Yeah, new Anarchist successful run, that one's a bit difficult because it's the first successful run when something happens. So this eats the trigger. It doesn't make it successful, but you can still fire it. But you generally didn't put this on the remote. You put this on HQ or R&D to stop the trick shot, the deep dive, the account siphon, the maker's eye, you name it. And this is a card that, for one influence, was a very common splash in meta decks between like whenever this came out, 2014 to like 2016, 2017. Very important card in theory. Losing Oberth matters for Jemison. We saw a bit of it in BTL modernly. It's a cool deck. Rashida, obviously everybody. NGO Front, also a massive loss for BTL Glacier. Like BTL Glacier makes the math on NGO Front so good, where it's now 2 clicks for 7 credits. That's very, very good. Let alone it looks like a Biovault, it looks like an Agenda. Like NGO Front on its own is okay. Not a lot of decks play it, but in BTL, and BTL Glacier is losing a bit of border control, but a lot of NGO Front and a lot of Biovault. And that's actually pretty substantial. That's a lot of financial loss for the deck. It loses a hell of a lot. In terms of the ice, Subliminal, also massive. Losing Subliminal really hurts Nuvang. This is the best Nuvang card, and Subliminal also would be the best Zwicky card. Oh no, it's not a transaction. Never mind. I thought it was a transaction. Okay, so it's a very, very good Nuvang card, but not much else. And then that's it. Hey, Andre, I woke up at 6 a.m. for some weird reason, but it doesn't mean I get to catch you live. I get the Patrick a nice little surprise. It got me really good. I didn't even read the sentence. And then I didn't know the password offhand because I read the article like a day ago and I was embarrassed, but it was very, very good. I'm hoping runners slow down, summon elevation, or maybe the need of the audacity out because the runner just has you locked isn't as frequent. So the being locked out by the runner is just inherently part of Netrunner. Like some metas, it's worse than others, but to be clear, generally there is this like constant arc for every Netrunner game, whether it's 1996's Netrunner, 2012 FFG core set, or modern Netrunner, where in the early game the runner is really strong because they can run everything and the corporation doesn't have money to res all the ice, so pressure on turn 1, you play Zaya, drop a Hermes, like it's real, it hurts, it's a problem. Then in the mid game, once the corporation has things in their remote server, the runner doesn't have their breakers and they're scoring out and doing things, and the runner has to find their answers to the problems, then the corporation's the strongest. But naturally, as the game goes on the other side, now the runner has their breakers, their economy, they can get in and it's up to them. So you're right, some metas are worse than others, but generally Netrunner in its like archetypal state, if you ask me, that's always going to be a problem. That generally the last points are the hardest to score out, unless the runner either mismanages their economy or you play something that scales well into the late game. Like that's where like Built to Last is really strange. It's one of the decks that actually does get better into the late game and has like the inverse graph. Same like Ag Infusion, like Glacier decks do not work like that, but the archetypal Netrunner actually always works like that. In Weyland, again, with things like bad publicity, all that sort of stuff, like you're kind of, you're burning the candle on both ends. You need to get out of there. Plutus doesn't reveal? No, it does reveal. Plutus, you can reveal and trash 3 cards if you want to, if I'm not mistaken. Zwicky doesn't need transactions, just need to get credits from operations. Wait, for real, Alex? How's it going? Is that true? These are so funny. Oh, okay, no, it works. I thought it was transaction. I was too Built the Last build. We were looking transactions. Okay, that's way better. Okay, so it would be really good with Subliminal. Have you forgot the Jinteki that exposes revealed to gain a credit? They want Subliminal messaging. We're just talking about Weyland, but yeah, Subliminal is also like really good for a lot of strange things, including Hyobu. Plutus doesn't reveal. Plutus does reveal. Plutus does reveal. Yeah, it's trash reveal. It's the reveal face up. It's I think that's new. I think it used to be trash face up, but I couldn't find any confirmation about that. If it didn't reveal, you could just put stuff in the bin at paid ability and then score 4 points with Regenesis and Moonpool. Yeah, if it was face down, you could Moonpool. It'd be very, very good. You'd have to do it on their turn though, because Regenesis cares about trashing on your turn, but that'd be fine. Plutus couldn't recur Subliminal, but Zwicky could benefit from it. This one's transaction, yeah. No, it's not about Plutus, it's about Zwicky. If Zwicky could clicklessly draw a card and gain a credit to start a turn every turn if you didn't run, that would be pretty good, right? Like that's a very good way to fire your ability consistently. It's the same problem with Nuvang. Like the best Nuvang card is Subliminal because it is a clickless 3 credits. Like it's hard to feel bad about a clickless 3 credits. So good luck, Nuvang. You might need it. As much as I imagine a bunch of the Zwicky support is going to help Nuvang support as well. It's officially tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out. We had a good stream. Really fun reveals, honestly. It's a bummer. I really wanted to play a couple Netrunner decks, but there's almost never time. I should have saw this coming. So shout out to Ghost Meat. Shout out to BT Good to Me that put that HB deck that we keep kicking the can down the road. We just are struggling to find time to play Netrunner. That's for sure. Again, there'll definitely be more stuff tomorrow. I think we're seeing a criminal identity tomorrow, which is pretty hype. Take care of yourself. Thank you. I will. Cat, would you say aw as in like we want to play more Netrunner? I don't think we can. It's like it's past midnight here as it is on your side too. We'll be back tomorrow at some point doing some streaming on the Crash Space Grid. It'll be Marvel Champions. Mind you, I've been enjoying Marvel Champions a lot, and we've been doing a cool stream setup. Glad you're feeling better. I'm not perfect. We're getting there. You want to subscribe to this? We'll be there tomorrow. We can hang out. Probably talk a bit about spoilers at the same time. It doesn't have to be only Marvel Champions, but it's fun. I love crimes. Me too. I'm really excited for the criminal stuff. I'll be honest, some of the cards, seen them. There's always some stuff we know. Yeah, see some criminal stuff for sure. Hype for Steph Cambridge, Ace Conman. It's the same guy. He's just so good. What is his Gmod? Like what did Steven do to himself? Yo, Cody, how's it going? I love to read along the inside of the scoops. Hey, glad you've enjoyed it. Glad you could catch the stream. Yeah, thanks for dropping by. What did Cambridge do? How did he genetically modify himself? Like, there's no evidence. Just kind of looks like a guy you could know. Like Quetzal, kind of got a bird look going on. You know, Lou is Wolfie. Gmod just shortened his name from Steven to Steve. The G stands for something else. It's like full name modded. Probably cognitive enhancements, good memory. Is he meant to have, like, I know nothing about the flavor of Steve. I do think Terminal Directive Div had something about him, but like he's good at forging? What's his thing? Like, what's Polyhistor about? Isn't this about like telling stories? Gmod stands for genetically modified, yeah. And so like a lot of the genetically modified characters are like Wilders, for instance. So like it's the idea behind DJ Fenris is you can't tell because quality's low here, but DJ Fenris has fangs and like pointed ears, like Fenris as a wolf. So he is meant to be, you know, spinning the records at a Wildside, which is a Wilder nightclub, and Wilders are people who are genetically modify themselves like Lou to look more like animals, kind of like furries, but not so much a fursona, but a fur person. So it was a bit subtle, but if you saw the original art for Wildside, like you can see there's like just straight up cat people in there, like people with horns and stuff. This person has cat ears. Like that's just genetically modified. Just really good at scamming. I'm assuming it's to make himself effectively younger. Do you think Steve was worried about how old he was? The name Cambridge, he does sound older than he is. Also, like, this is the original art. He looks very young on this. But, like, he also just kind of looks like a... somebody came into the stream one time and said Steve Cambridge was once in their kitchen making, like, a chili. And he was like, yeah, I was named after me. I'm Steve Cambridge. I know the people from FFG. And I wish I remembered where the clip that came from, but it's such a funny story. And the guy described himself as a good, like, value option or something. But yeah, he just kind of looks like a guy. I never picked up TD, and now I fear the lore has disappeared into ether. It hasn't. A lot of people upload it. I do think on one of the wikis, people have uploaded all of the lore inserts. Guess there's a Gmod too. I think she was just tuned up to be better, faster, smarter. Yeah, actually, is the Wonder Kid a Gmod? Yeah, probably is. Yeah. Yeah, but she's just good. But she's also been good as Kid. Wonder Kid. See, the generically want her kid to be successful Gmods, yeah. Yeah, her dad's just modified her. I'm assuming consent was involved. I don't know. Dino's cute. Thanks so much for hanging out. It's been a busy week, and it'll be busy tomorrow and the week after and the week after, and then the set will come out, and we'll be streaming for about a week straight, which is going to be good fun. Thanks so much for hanging out for the stream. Hopefully you had a good time. I want to shout out to all the people doing great stuff for Scoops, you know, writing stories, publishing them, getting them out there, writing articles. NSG's been doing a great job. And the set looks pretty exciting. Here at Métropole Grid, we're supported on Patreon. All these names here in our daily cast patrons help us to put time into video editing and all the live streaming stuff and the motion graphics and the paper studio and all this good stuff. It takes time, it takes money, of course it does. And if you want to support the channel in any way, you can find a link below. Mind you, we have a bunch of daily cast patrons. Their names are not here, unfortunately, but there's a lot of ways to support the channel. Want to take a second to like the video, the VOD. It helps a heck of a lot. Leave a comment. I don't know, say something nice. I'm saying that like people don't. Please say something nice. But yeah, there's a lot of ways to help the channel out, mind you. Algorithm stuff really matters. That's mostly it. I guess FFG never really talked about genetic modding much. Like, I absolutely don't remember in Liza's lore when I read it. Oh yeah, Liza's Gmod, but I don't think there's a lot of lore about Liza for sure. But that's because Rain and Reverie didn't come with enough lore, because Rain and Reverie was a product of them being like, we're losing the license, just get out the stuff. So it didn't have like a fully fleshed narrative to it. Hopefully you're enjoying the rest of the season. Remember, Think of me every time you see a Jinteki identity with too many words and he becomes a wet blanket. Just think of me every time you get excited about that. Think about how less jaded you are. We'll be back on tomorrow doing some streams on another channel. Otherwise, we'll be back on Tuesday. Eternal Super Leaguers wrapped, so we can't call that out. But stay tuned to Null 7 Games. You'll find some cool stuff. Thanks for hanging out. See you in the next one. Bye.